Hey there, and welcome to this session on a mini hackathon session where we're going to build out an entire set of applications in Power Apps. My name is Brian Knight. I'm one of the founders of Pragmatic Works. I've written a few books on the topics, and today we're going to focus on building a series of applications. So let's begin. I'm just going to bring in a fake customer today. And John, let's go ahead and join me real quick. There we go. And let's put you in a better position here. How about that? All right. So John, how's it going today?
It's going great. How are you, Brian?
Excellent. I had some technology challenges this morning, but it's always okay, I guess, in this case.
Yeah.
So today we're going to focus on doing a hackathon. And what is a hackathon, John? Can you kind of walk through that first?
Yeah, hackathon is where you come to us with your data and we work with you on building out somewhat of a production model to help you understand not just on how to get to that final solution or something that looks close to that final solution, but how to manage it, how to fix it, how to apply steps on it, and really work with what you want to have so you can actually build it out even better into the future for yourselves.
Yeah, so this is something we do for customers all the time where we teach with an actual example. And the example we're going to use today is actually an example that one of our customers brought to us that we went ahead and simplified for a 3-hour session that we have today. So John, walk us through, what do we want to build today? You're acting as a role of a marketing person that one of our customers actually had. So what kind of questions, what kind of goals does the marketing customer have?
I think for us, for us to be able to engage our customers, we want to be able to present them with, a little bit of like a goodie box. If they, have certain plans with us, maybe it's a specific item that they're purchasing, we like to send them something in return so we can show our appreciation for them being a customer. In this case, being able to give out that goodie box, like if you go ahead and join us here and become a season pass member, you'll get this goodie box yourselves. What we want to be able to do is be able to reach out and send it out. So as the marketing side, we need to know, obviously we know who our customers are, but what size t-shirts, what should we include with that as we go and reach out to those customers?
Yeah, as well as tracking things like inventory. And so we're going to have 2 apps today, hopefully. One for the sales team that when they sell a season pass, they can say, hey, here is your nerd box ready to go, and put a request out there. And then another application for marketing to review and actually fulfill those requests. This was a very similar concept to one of our customers had. Theirs was more marketing literature to send out to distributors in their case. But more importantly, this represents about 90% of the Power Apps we see, right? You put something into a queue and you work the queue. So as part of this hackathon today, you guys are welcome to build this with me, but we are going to go relatively fast. You can, of course, pause me if you want. You can go through but also, if you do that, we do have in the description of this video, and I think Chuck and our marketing team is actually pinning some comments to this, step-by-step instructions on how you can build what we're building today. It is crib notes, so it's not very, very detailed, but it is 10 pages of notes. One of the prerequisites you'll need today to actually build this example with us is an environment that has Dataverse. We'll be using Dataverse for a few reasons. It's going to simplify our build out immensely. We can build out a data structures to store this data relatively quick. So you'll need an environment where you have access to Dataverse. You can get that if you wish by going to the developer plan. And I think John's going to put that in the chat window for you also, what the developer plan link is. You'll find it right here though. Once you go there, there's step-by-step instructions there on the screen about how to get your environment hooked up. Again, feel free to pause me. It's going to be really hard to work completely step-by-step with me today until you pause me and kind of work in steps. But after that, you'll see all the step-by-step instructions on what we're going to build, the tables we're going to build, and the apps we're going to build inside there. Additionally, in that same zip file in the description of this video, you'll find a zip file with the completed solution. So when you download the zip file, make sure you unzip it. There's a Word doc and another zip file as part of that. That second zip file contains what you can import into your environment, which has a completed solution all ready to go. It's something called unmanaged code, which means you can tweak it and change it however you wish. We will do one break around 12:30-ish timeframe, East Coast time, for just about 5 minutes, let you stretch your legs. But largely, we're going to truck along and see how far we can go in about 3 hours here today. So again, this is being recorded. Common question we always get asked: is this being recorded? It is being recorded, and it will be played back later. Of course, if you watch it live, you can ask questions, and John is going to be kind enough to kind of be in the background, kind of emceeing for us here and highlighting questions and coming on screen whenever he needs to highlight those questions. And let's begin. So, John, anything else you want to add before we jump into this?
No, just really excited to see what you could put together for us, and hopefully everybody's ready to watch some magic happen right in front of you.
All right, sweet. So yeah, these hackathons are some of our favorite things to do because we get to solve real world problems as part of this. So John's gonna be our director and get rid of my face when I get in the way here. But we're gonna start. If you're in the commercial cloud, you want to go to make.powerapps.com if you're in the commercial cloud. If you're in the government cloud, it'll be something like make.gov.powerapps.us for the US cloud, or your country of choice in there as well if you're international, which I can see in the chat window. There's quite a few international folks out there right now. And thank you for joining us, by the way. We have, thousands of people out there. So we're going to go out on the left side here. Once you go to make.powerapps.com, it opens up the interface you're seeing here. Choose whatever environment, the top right there, that has Dataverse access available to you. This is why you may want to watch this, watch it in more of a classroom style now and then go back and do the example later, because you may not have Dataverse access yet. And you'll know that in about 3 or 4 minutes here, whether you do have that access. So I chose just this is a brand new environment, nothing inside of it yet. So we're going to build 2 applications today, a Canvas application for our sales team to enter requests in, and then a model-driven application to see those requests and fulfill those requests. Really, really common examples that you'll see over and over again. So just to kind of show you what it looks like in the end, this is our Canvas application we'll be building, a really simple one that shows you all to see all your requests, and then be able to add new requests. And then the model-driven application you'll see in just a moment here as well. All right, so let's begin. Let me get rid of this. All right, so to start with, we are going to build a solution. And a solution is how you want to start with any Power Platform application or flow or whatever you want to do in Power Platform. You always want to start with solutions. The reason why I want you to start with solutions is because it will help you move that from dev to QA to prod down the road. And this is what I gave you in that zip file. You can, again, just hit the import solution and it will bring over the completed code for you if you want to start from a completed solution. But we're going to start from scratch here. Again, a brand new environment, nothing to see, as you can see, other than the stuff that's the default stuff for Power Pages here. I'm going to hit the new solution button that you see in the top left. And I'll call this merchandise request. I'll call it marketing request. That's fine. Okay. Notice the one below it does not have any spaces, and the one above does have spaces. Don't worry about that. Just make sure you never put spaces in this. Don't put any special characters. Just keep it very, very simple. A publisher is how we can see who is responsible for the application. It also makes it where we can see essentially every table will have a prefix on it. So in my case, I just have the default publishers right now. I'm going to hit the new publisher button to create a brand new one. I'll call mine Pragmatic Works. You can call yours your company name, call it whatever you wish. In case you wonder, your application can look different. So absolutely fine. So I'll call mine Pragmatic Works. My name, again, no spaces. Just Pragmatic Works, no spaces. And then my prefix is PW. So just to kind of recap that, I just modified that. No spaces here. And I put a prefix of PW. Every table that I create, like you're seeing at the bottom here, will have PW underscore whatever the table name is. We can also put the point of contact right here if you wanted to. We're going to leave that as is. Otherwise, we can all put John's cell phone number on there. And then we'll hit save and let that do its thing for a few seconds. After it does its thing, we'll go ahead and select that publisher from the drop-down box here. And then hit create again. This will take about 10 seconds to do its thing, and then now we're ready to create tables. In case you have not built a solution before in Power Platform, you can always add your old stuff into it as well. So you can always retrofit stuff that you may have done the old way into this as well. But for the time being, we're going to hit the new button and we're going to create 2 tables. Our tables are going to hold what merchandise, what merch do our marketing team want to distribute. And then our second table is going to be the request coming in for that merch. So let's start with the first one. Let's go over to New, Table, and Table again. External tables allow you to link to things like SQL servers, SharePoint, and Excel spreadsheets. I'm going to go New Table and Table. And in case you forgot how we got here, I'll go back from scratch here. I went to Solutions, and I click on Marketing Request to get back here again. And I'll do New, Table, and Table. The first one, I'll call this Merch Item. Make sure you always keep a singular name here. If you do a plural name, you will be in pain later, trust me. It's hard to unravel that, and you're going to wind up likely deleting the table and re-adding it. The reason why is you'll see right below it, it has plural items right below it. So keep it really simple. Alternatively, we can also add attachments here if you wanted to. You don't have to have it for this example, but if you do, you cannot undo it once you do it. It allows you to store things like images of the product. You might have a CAD drawing or notes or whatever you wish to put in there. But in our case, we'll keep it on for the time being. And then I'll go to my primary column. The primary column is how you and I are going to communicate about a given product. Hey, I'm calling about the medium shirt here. How much inventory do you have? So I'm going to call this just merch name, merch item name, or something like that. Call it whatever you want. I'm going to keep mine fairly simple here and just call it merch item name. That'll be my primary name column. This is not the primary key column that you would think of in a SQL Server database. This is basically how two humans are going to communicate about a given record. It could be an application number. It could be whatever. You can call it item name. It doesn't really matter. I'll call mine item name. Matter of fact, let's keep it that easy. Once done, we'll hit the save button. And what's happening right now? Well, what's happening is creating a table in a Dataverse database. And Dataverse is essentially a SQL Server database. It's a really easy way to build these. So if you're familiar with SharePoint already, going to Dataverse is going to feel very, very comfortable, where I can hit the new column button. It feels like a SharePoint view in this case, and add new columns and do things like that. So our only one I'm going to add here, I can hit this little plus button right here, or I can go to columns and see a list of my columns here. The list of columns you see here is pretty vast, right? And it's all the plumbing that's built in the Dataverse. So if you want to find out who created a record, when it was last created, who modified it, all that stuff is available for you there. So in my case, I'm going to go ahead and create a new column, and I'll call this one Approval Required. All right, and I'm going to make that in the data type. I'll hit the drop-down box there. I'll go to Choice, and then Yes, No. So is this one item that I'm trying to send a customer so premium that I need to make sure that it goes through extra scrutiny before we send that to the customer? Okay, maybe it's a high value, a backpack versus a t-shirt, for example, that I want extra scrutiny on it. You also might, traditionally, most customers will put a quantity column of how much inventory they have here as well. So now that we have that, our first table is now done. Our next table is going to be a little more complex, don't worry. So for our next table, I have to click on the word tables here, or the word all. Once I do that, I'll hit New, Table, and Table one more time. This table is going to be called Merch Request. And for this merch request, our primary column this time is going to be called Request Number. This request number column is going to be an auto number column. That's one of the questions I'm sure you're asking right now is, can I do things like auto numbers? You can absolutely do that, and we're going to show an example right here. So this primary name column could be a title, or it can be a number. So think of this like the title column that you might be familiar with in SharePoint. So once I'm done there, I'll hit Save, and that's going to create our next table. Once that table is created, I'll click on the columns word. You can click on it right here in the middle, or you can expand the left side and click on columns here. Whatever is comfortable for you, go ahead and try that. All right. So give that a few seconds, and you're going to see a list of all the columns. What I'm looking for now is that request number column. That request number column, as you can see, it's a single line of text right now. and I need to make that an auto number where every new request has a unique number on it. So when sales team calls about, hey, I'm calling about request 123, they know which record to pull up. So I'll select the request number column, and I'm going to change that from single line of text to an auto number. And then optionally, you can put a prefix on this. So I like to put a prefix of like, R for request or something like that. That way, every new request has a value like that, R1000, R1002, and so on and so on. By doing that, it creates a taxonomy in your data where when I call and I see somebody's calling about B1000, I know they're calling about a business application versus I1000, which might be an individual's application. So this allows you to kind of think about, that number has a meaning in which table it came from. I could also do like REQ or MR for marketing request or whatever you wish. I'll hit the save button there. And now my record, my table's now ready to go, but I'm seeing too many columns. It's confusing to me, like where is my stuff versus Microsoft stuff? So one of the tips you can do is I can go over, it says name right here, and hit that down arrow that you see there. Once you do that, click filter by and type in whatever your prefix is for the publisher. You can see in my case, it was PW right here. I'm going to type in whatever my prefix was and then hit apply. And now I'm only going to see my columns. A few notes here. You'll see it has two columns. One, we know we created the request number. What is this merge request column though? Well, that merge request column, as you can see right here, is a unique identifier. It's what makes a record unique. So if you want to find out what the primary name column, primary key is for this table, it's always going to be the same as your table name. So you would say like merge request to get the table and the column underneath that table, which we'll see in our Canvas application later. Once we're done, let's go ahead and create a few more columns. We're going to have about 5 columns to create. Most of these will be very, very easy to create. We have 6 columns to create, excuse me. So let's create our first one. We have to find out what product they want to send, who they want to send it to, what company that person's part of, and what a person that I want to send it to at that company. I want to find out the due date of when I need to send this out, and then maybe some notes of what I want to send out also. So let's start with that. I'll start with what item do I want to send out. So I'll hit the new column button up top. So I'm going to take a step back, new column. I'll type in merge item. For data type, I'll change that data type from what it is now to a lookup column and a lookup again. So lookup and lookup for data type. A lookup column connects 2 tables together. It makes sure that we can see that there's a relationship between these, and it lets us navigate from this table to another table. In our case, it's going to show you what product the customer wants. The related table I want to go to is called merge item. If I just type in MER, it will show me the table there, and I can click on it then. You can also select it and look for all the tables there. Again, this is a fresh environment, and look at all the tables Microsoft has provided me in Dataverse that I can kind of leverage. Some of those I can leverage, some I can't, but some of these are really, really handy. I'll hit the save button, and it's going to create that merge item column, which then links the request to the merge item. Next, I want to create what company is this company from. So I'll hit new column again, and I'll just call this one account. Now, again, it's going to be a lookup column and a lookup again. This time, though, the table is going to be the account table. So let me zoom in a little closer here so you can see all this. All right, there we go. So I changed that, changed this, and I changed this. Let me stop for a second. All right, the account table holds a list of all the companies that are in my Dataverse database. And it should be leveraged if at all possible. You should never, if you have a Dataverse database, ideally, you should never create your own company table. Microsoft has already done that for you. And the account table has dozens and dozens of columns. That's going to save you tons of time, and it prepares you for things like Power Pages down the road if you want to externalize that to your customers on a web page. So we're going to select Related Table and then hit Save. All right, cool. So we are rocking and rolling. Let's take a few seconds to create this table. Now we want to find out what contact at that company do we care about. So I'll create a new column again. This will be my contact table. There we go. This will be, again, a lookup, and the table this time is called contact. So I'm going to start typing it in, and it'll narrow it down for me. Again, I'll zoom in a little closer here. Contact, lookup, and contact. Now, these two names you're seeing here do not have to be an exact match. I do it just so I can easily find the relationship in the tables. It makes it a little easier for me to track down the road also. But that is what your salespeople are going to see. All right, give that a few seconds to create. Now I want to know the due date of when the salesperson has promised this to the customer. So my marketing team, my fulfillment team can fulfill this in a reliable way. So let's hit our new column again, and we'll call this one due date. This is going to be a date and time, but on our date time, we'll make it a date only. I don't really care about the specific time where this is going to be due. Now, there's some quirks with date-only columns. And one of the tricks you can do to avoid those quirks, which are like mostly time zone-related quirks, is I can go to advanced options and just say, you know what, I don't care about the time zone here. I don't want to store midnight, in other words. I really, truly only want date time. This is under advanced options. So let me zoom in a little closer here. So I have changed that to due date. I made it a date time, date only, and then one more time, date only again. By doing that, it's not going to store the time as midnight, and I won't be potential issues with like GMT time and all that. It's always going to only store that they want this on July 1st versus July 1st at midnight, which could potentially have issues with time zones at that point. So I did date only twice there, and I'll hit save. Give that a few seconds. And we're almost done, guys. All right, our next one is going to be fulfilled. Has marketing fulfilled this request yet? So I will hit new column again, and I'll put fulfilled. All right. Now for this one, we can decide, do we want it to be a drop-down box? If we want it to be a drop-down box, we can choose a choice column. Or do we want to have it as a yes-no little toggle? We're going to choose a yes/no field in this case. But if we wanted to say, pending, in shipment, and then delivered, if we wanted something like that, where it was a structured list, we might use a choice column. For an unstructured list like this, we'll just do yes/no in our case. And you can see we're going to default that to no, and then we'll hit save. But let me just zoom in a little closer here. We did fulfilled, and then yes/no. This was under choice, in case you're curious. Under choice is where you're going to find that. Okay? We didn't set any other options other than those two options. And we'll hit save. One last column to go, and then we're all done. So let's hit that new column one more time. And this one is going to be our last one, and it'll be merch notes. What kind of notes the salesperson sharing with us on what they want to do with this request. Make sure your column, I found this the hard way, is not just note or notes. That is a reserved word. So put some kind of keyword in front, like request notes or merch notes. We're going to use merch notes for the time being. And then I'll hit the drop-down box where you see single line of text. You'll see a little arrow next to it and do a multi-line text. Okay, so it should look like this. All I changed was this and this. All right. Then I'll hit save. Again, all of these notes, the step-by-step instructions, if you're struggling to keep along, totally understand. I totally recognize I'm going fast here. All the notes for that are in the comments of this chat or also in the description of the video. So you can find a Word doc that's embedded in that zip file that will walk you through step-by-step what we're doing right now also, if you want to play along. Generally in a hackathon, the customer is driving, not myself. But in this case, I'm kind of going a little bit faster, and I'm driving for you in this case. All right. So we have all of our columns now done. A few things to note about Dataverse. If I want to change a column, I can change its display name. But the actual name behind this, which you'll find are advanced here, cannot be changed. It uses our prefix here of PW. And this is what you're going to see inside of things like Power BI, as well as things like SQL Server. If you open up like Management Studio, for example, you'll see PW underscore, your prefix underscore the column name. So that cannot be changed. If you wanted to change that, you're going to have to delete the column and re-add the column, unfortunately, at the time of this recording at least, or this live event at least. So in this case, we're roughly done with our table structure. If we were building a Canvas application, we can begin building our Canvas application right now. However, we wanted to also build a model-driven application. And we got about 20 minutes to do that. So we're going to have an application built in about 20 minutes. So first step we want to do for a model-driven app is, first of all, talk about why would I choose model-driven versus Canvas? Well, the reason why people usually choose model-driven is, typically speaking, there is very, very low code and generally no code in that. It's all about, let me kind of bring over this application right here. It's all about list of data and forms to enter new data. So I can hit the new button and add forms of new data here if I wanted to as well. And you'll see list of data right here. But it's less about the aesthetics. It is pretty, I mean, it's good enough, but we can do a lot of things. For some customers, this might intimidate their users because there's so many buttons I can click on. There's so much I can do. I can do things like show charts. I can do like Power BI reports in here. So this might be a little intimidating for some customers. So in our case, though, we are going to use this for our marketing team because they're used to that. And then for our everyday users, we're going to choose a Canvas application, which looks like this, where they can see, kind of have a set amount of things. There's only 2 things they can do on the screen, right? Fill a request out or cancel. Over here, they can go ahead and say edit or delete. But there's only so many things they can do, so it's less intimidating for them as an end user in many cases. All right, so that's the why. Now, our steps to building this Canvas application, what we're going to do, let me get this out of the way there. There we go. What we're going to do is we're going to start, kind of shrink that down a little bit. There we go. We're going to start by, we have our columns all done. Check that off your list. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to build our views of how the users are going to see the data. Those views look like that list of customer list you saw a moment ago in our model-driven app. We can use those views in Power Pages, in Power Apps. We can use them all over the map here. So if I change the view, change how the data is sorted, every application using that view will also change. We're then going to create our form to enter the data and edit the data, and then we're going to build our model-driven app. The hard part is building all the rules and building all the forms, but the application part is going to take us less than 5 minutes for model-driven. And the reason why is all the logic is in the table. That's why the challenge could be there. So let's begin back there again. So I'm going to start here by going back to my merch item table. And as you expand this on the left, you'll see a whole tree of what we can do. Of course, we can add business rules into it. We can add different relationships for things like many-to-many relationships. We can add keys for things like duplicate detection and all that. But the ones we care about right now are views and forms. We're going to start by modifying our view, and then we're going to modify our form next. Now, it's not important that yours looks exactly like mine in this case. You can say, hey, I want to do these columns versus these columns. Absolutely fine. This is your baby. You make what you want to out of it. So I'm going to go over here to where you see merch item, and I'll click on view. You're going to see a list of a number of views that Microsoft has already created for you. Active merch items is the table that has a list of unarchived records that are still have not been deactivated, are soft deleted. And inactive are the soft deleted records. These other ones you're seeing here can also be used. However, we're not going to use them for today's example. So we're going to go over to active merch items and click on it. Again, how I got here, let's kind of zoom in here again. I went to merch item, I went to views, and I'm clicking on active merch item. Just going to click on it now. Okay, once you do that, this is going to be similar to creating a SharePoint view. You can see here that I have my item names. I can then look at all the columns that are available to me. We can also navigate the referential integrity and find out what tables relate to this table. But in our case, all we have to do under Merge Item is, first of all, select that filter that you're seeing right here and go to Custom. Now you can see in my face out of the way now that when I do that, when I change this from whatever it was before to Custom, I'm only seeing my columns above it. So by doing that now, I can go ahead and click on it or drag and drop it. I prefer clicking because it's a little harder to drag and drop sometimes. Then you can kind of shuffle things around at that point. So only one column to add here, or if you don't want to add any columns, no worries. Then go ahead and hit Save and Publish. And while that's saving and publishing, you'll notice on the right side that we have sorting and filtering of the data. So if you only want to see the products that require a approval, you can create a filter there to only show those. Or if you only want to sort by the quantity of inventory, you can also do that. All right. Once that spinner goes away from Save and Publish, you're now ready to hit the back button. So just because you hit Save doesn't mean it's available to your customers. Saving and publishing will make sure it's available for any application using that there. So it's really important that you publish after each step. Otherwise, nobody can see your goodness that you built. All right, so one now is now done. And then I'm going to go over to Forms next. I can get there by expanding again over here, go to Merge Item, and clicking on Forms. We can also get there by hitting the drop-down box right here, and then selecting Forms here. So you can either select Forms here, or just pick Forms here under Merge Items. Once you do that, you'll see that there's 3 forms that are available for me right now. The one we care about, and yours might be different than mine, is we're looking for the word main here. Go ahead and select the information word under main. Once you do that, it's going to open up your form editor. This one's going to be a super easy one to do also. We're going to change that filter that we did earlier. So on the left side, I'll change that filter to custom and then click on Approval Request. There we go. We're all done. There's lots more things you can do in here, and we'll do those in our next table. Like, for example, we could, if we don't care about the owner of this row, we could drag it up to the top, and you'll see it turn slightly purple as I do that. Once you release, it will show that owner column in the top right. So there's 2 schools of thought there. By making it more obvious, more in the header, some people will notice it. Others will not notice it there because you've made it too apparent in that case. So once you're done, hit Save and Publish. Again, now it's available to your users. Once it finishes spinning here, like it is on my screen right now, then you're ready to go ahead and hit the back button. Mine's taking a little while. It'll say Saved and Published, little checkbox, and then I'll hit the back button. Again, our next one will be a little more complex and a little more fun. All right, so now we are now ready to go over to our other table. So I'll expand tables, look for Merge Request, and then I'll go to Views. The same thing we did last time. I expanded my merge request, and then I'm going to Views next, and then I'm going to select the Active Merge Request option. That's what you want to go ahead and click on right there. Okay, give you guys a few seconds, and click on that. All right. So now, this is where we might vary a little bit, and this is absolutely fine. Yours can look different than mine. What we want to avoid is putting every single column on this screen. Your marketing team is going to want every single column in here. However, they can always click on a column or a row and go deeper into it. This is just a summary view of all the records in your table. First thing, again, just like last time, above me, change this to custom. Now we can see only our columns. Then think about what would you think your marketing team would want to see on this summary view over here. So think about that and click on the columns that you think would be important. I'm going to do the ones I think are important. It's completely up to you on what you want to do. So I'm going to choose, I want to know the contact that we're sending this to. When was it created? When is it due? And has it been fulfilled? I'll just do those three. You can do whatever you want. Again, it's not matter in any way if yours looks different. And again, you can drag and drop these. You can move them around. You can sort them. You can do whatever you want to do. You can also skinny the columns down or expand them if you wish. Okay. What you see is what you get. And if you had data already, you would see the first X amount of rows in there. You're now ready to hit save and publish. Now, there's some common questions we get asked right now is, can this view be editable? And absolutely can be editable. There's lots of customizations you can do around this. But we have it saved and published, and now we're ready to go and hit the back button one more time. All right, John, how we doing? So I'll hit the back. No questions so far, it looks like. So it looks like that's all. It looks like you're manning all the questions in the background, so that's awesome. Awesome. So let's go over to our form next. Just like we did last time, I'm going to select the views and then go to forms to edit that form. Once we do that, we'll see right here that we have the main form again. Notice it kind of hops around. Last time it was my last one. So find whatever one is your main form and then click on the word information underneath that. Okay. Once I do that, it's going to open up my form, and this one is going to be a little bit more complex. The first thing, I'm going to do the same thing we did last time. I'm going to drag owner up to the header to get rid of it. That's the owner of the request. Who actually made this request? But that can transfer. This is how we're going to kind of keep track of like record ownership and all that. We won't go over to security too much, but just note I have tons of other videos on this. For this request number, keep in mind this was an auto number column. And because it's an auto number column, we're going to make sure that we put that in such a way where it's read only. This is going to allow us to kind of easily kind of tweak that as we go from one to one. So we're going to make that read only by selecting row number, and on the right side, select read only. Then we're going to add all the columns we care about, and we're going to put a few more touches on this to call it a day. So let's go back there again. And let me go ahead and put myself at the bottom here. Oh, John already got me. Thank you, John. So first thing I'll do is I'll select the request number. And on the right side, you'll see read only. That's going to mark it as locked, so the customer does not feel like they have to actually enter anything into that column. Then I'll change that filter like we've done 4 times already to custom. I'll check all my fields: account, contact, merch item, due date, and then fulfilled. So I checked all the columns right there. Now, what can we do special here to make this a little better experience for our marketing team? Well, it would be nice right now, once they select a customer, they're going to have to go and click on that customer to go and find out that customer's information. What a pain in the butt that's going to be, to get that customer's address, their phone number, their email address, and all that. So instead of doing that, what I prefer to do is create a section right here, a read-only section that has that customer's information inside of it. Additionally, when I select a company right here, I want it to only show me the people at that company. So let's start with that company to contact kind of relationship. If I select contact right here, you'll notice as I look down here, I can drill down and you'll see filtering on the right side. When I select filtering, I can scroll down just a little bit and I can say only show me related records to something. As I do that, you'll see it's only going to show me the relationships between the contacts that are at a certain account. Now, in my case, I don't only care about primary contacts. I want to see all contacts at that merchant or that account. So I'm going to change that instead to company name. Okay, so let me zoom in a little closer there so you can see that. So again, what I changed, I checked that box when I selected the contact. I then changed it to filter by related rows. And then I chose the account table and the company name. The primary contact only shows me who is the principal at a school or who's a boss at this company. But in my case, I want to send this merch to anybody at the company. So that's why I selected that company name versus the primary contact. This allows me to go through and create a cascading lookup, basically. It makes it easier to do that. There's other things we can do like, hey, don't show me for this, don't show me the most recently used items here also. So by checking this box, it hides the fact that I chose, Bubba Watts last time or Mickey Mouse this time. It only shows me the contacts at the account. If I don't check that, it's going to show me Mickey Mouse because I selected Disney last time. Okay, so it's a good idea when you do this filtering to always check this display here as well. Hey, John, I see we have a question. So the question is, if I create an application and run it for a day or so, is there any way to look at my Microsoft account and see how much the application is? And I think it's running off here, is run. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So the question is, in this case, how do I see the performance? How do I see performance? And how do I see the metrics? So this is my completed application here. This is the question from Bill here. If I go over to my app, any app here, I can hit the 3 dot, and then you'll see the analytics button. It's going to be under, go to details first. There we go. And then you'll see analytics right here. So Bill, this will give you a list of all the people, how many errors you've had, how many runs you've had, what kind of browsers they're on. What you can also look at things like runtime later and all that. As you can see, this application is pretty boring. I haven't run it yet because I'm building it right now with you. So that's how you can do it, Bill, if you wanted to. Great question there. Okay, so we now have the cascade now done. Now we're ready for taking that little bottom section that we mentioned before. I want to see my customer information right there. To do that, I'm going to click on components on the left side here. You'll also see, by the way, you can do more complex business rules by using JavaScript, or you can also use a business rule feature in this if you want to show or hide things based on, hey, we're out of inventory. I need to show certain products or hide certain products. So in my case, I'm going to go to this component button right here. You can also access it up top if you wanted to. Then in the component button, so it's right there or right there, I'm going to add a 1-column section. Make sure you click on 1-column section and not 1-column tab. Okay. That adds a new section down below. And on the right side, I'm going to change that label to customer info. Once I change that to customer info, I'm going to drop something inside there that's going to say, hey, whatever contact you click on, show me his details down below. It's only going to show you these columns once you select a contact. So once I have that done, on the left side, you'll see something called a quick view form. There's 2 ones that are pretty interesting. This is the quick view form is when I'm at a child record to parent record. Okay, so I'm looking at a request. I select a customer, and I want to see that customer's actual contact info. So I'm looking at a child navigating up. If I want to look at a parent and navigate down, child, this is subgrid of how I can do it. So in other words, I select a product, and I want to see everybody I've shipped that product to. That's how are all the requests for that product. That's a subgrid. So you can navigate up or down the relationship. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and make sure my customer info is selected. See, it's kind of bolded right now. And then I'll just click on Quick View. Alternatively, you can also click and drag. Once I do that, I want to see the contact info. So I'll change account to contact. Then I'll change what form do you want to see? Let's do the contact quick form. All right, so again, I did quick view, contact, and then contact quick form. This quick form that you're seeing here, or this quick view form, is a form that you have control over. So when I hit OK or done, if I don't like what I see, I can create another quick view form that has the information I care about. Like right now, I'm missing address, for example. So we could add address, we could add our own information, like what is the value of this account or whatever, and add that down here also. So with that said, I think this is a pretty good starting point. Let's click on Save and Publish to save this into the system. And once I've done that, we're ready to hit the back button after this finishes. Awesome. So we now have our views done to see the data, our forms done to enter the data, and now that we go back, we're ready to create our application next. To create our application, we'll click on the apps word on the left side of our solution. We'll click New, App, and at first, we're going to choose a model-driven app. So I'm going to hit Apps, New, App, and Model-Driven Application. So that model-driven application, again, is going to get focus on the list and forms. And this is going to be our administration app for our marketing team to fulfill those requests. All right. Call the app whatever you want. I'll call mine merch request queue, something like that. And then hit create. You, of course, can put some descriptions on it and all those kind of things. That's going to help people discover these apps later. We don't have time to cover security today, but there's lots more on the security side you can do to where people can only see their own records and lots more around that. The only steps you have to do, technically speaking, is hit the Add Page button. Pick whether you want a Dataverse table, in our case, dashboards are for things like Power BI reports or your own reports inside of here, and custom pages are for things like Canvas. So we're going to choose Dataverse table and click Next. There's 4 tables we want to click on. Account, which holds our companies. Contact, which holds our people in those companies. And then our 2 merch tables. So merch item, merch request, account, and contact. Those are our 4 tables. And then hit add. All right, give that a few seconds. Awesome. Now, technically speaking, your app is done. So I promise you by noon we'd have the app done. We're done by 11:47. Not too shabby, right? So now we want to go through and make this app a little bit better. And how can we do that? Well, for example, you see this group 1. That's kind of a garbage name right now, right? We can fix that though. We can go over to the left side where you see navigation. It's on the far, far left on these vertical icons. We'll select navigation right there. Once you do that, let's create a new group. And we'll call this group on the right side. So I hit new up here, it's add group. And on the right side, I'll call that group, how do we call it? Let's call it customers. Customer info, maybe. Whatever you want to call it. Then here's the kind of silly part. We have to go through on accounts and contacts, hit the 3 dot on those 2 tables, hit move down, move down, move down, and then it lights up as soon as it gets down there. Same thing for account. Move down, and then finally it shows up in the right group. For group 1, call it whatever you want. I'll call mine merch request. Again, up to you on which table name makes sense. Okay. So it looks like on the left side, this is exactly what our app is going to look like right here. These are the buttons they're going to see if they have permissions to those buttons. You can also customize this ribbon and add your own there as well. So watch some of our other videos on how to customize a ribbon. I built one just a few days ago that will show you how to customize these up top. All right, with that done, hit that publish button, give it a few seconds, and then we'll hit the play button after that finishes spinning. Okay, so far you have built your first app in 50 minutes. Ain't too shabby, right? Nice job. So if we look at this, we can see that I have a list of items. There's no items in here. So let's create a few items we can work with here. So I'm going to create hit a new button for mine, and you can create whatever items you want. I'll call mine Nerd Kit, for example. It's no approval required. I'll hit save and close. I'll create one more here. I'll call this one Learn with the Nerds shirt. And I'll put a medium shirt on that one. And I'll hit save and close. Good enough. So we have 2 items here. One of the things we can do if you wanted to add more products is you can do it a few ways. Now, your marketing team is likely going to love them some Excel. And that's why they're going to love this style of application. So I can hit the drop-down box where you see Export to Excel and hit Open in Excel Online. This is optional. You don't have to do this, guys. But if I select open it in Excel online, this can allow me to go through and add a few more products. I can copy that medium shirt, for example, and then paste it, and then do, add one as a large, just like I would do in any other Excel spreadsheet. Make one in Excel, and then do one as a small. Just copying and pasting. And I'm not going to touch the other columns because they will default appropriately. And I'm definitely not going to change the created on because that will default appropriately. When I'm all done, I can just hit, and I can also do like, product, 3, product 4, and so on and so on. And then you can even do things like, do all your Excel tricks you do today, like dragging and dropping by just dragging that little pin. Then I'll hit save. This takes about 3 or 4 minutes to load these records, to find out what records have changed. You can track the progress by hitting track progress. I'm gonna go ahead and keep on going. So I'm gonna close that little pop-up window that happened. But in about 3 or 4 minutes, I should be able to hit that little refresh button you're seeing up top here. And that was fast. That was a lot better than 3 or 4 minutes. It might be different for you, but I normally see it 3 or 4 minutes. This was way, way faster than I'm used to seeing. So I hit the refresh button. I got back my products. Awesome. So that is one way to allow marketing to go through and add stuff that they need to their list without having to go and add individual products. Chances are they have an Excel spreadsheet already. You can also go up top where it says Excel templates, and you'll see upload templates and all those kind of goodies. And then you'll see import from Excel here as well. So you could import from CSVs. You can import from a SQL Server database, an Oracle database, using something called data flows. So lots of options you have to get data into here. You also might notice that I have accounts and I have contacts. Oh, I thought I had accounts and contacts. Yeah, I do. Okay, cool. If you don't have those and you want to have those, and I have them, there's not mine. So if I change it to all accounts, I thought I had some. Okay, I thought I had accounts here. I must not. So if you want to see some accounts, and I thought I had some contacts, I do have some sample records. These are all sample data, of course. Nothing's real here. If you want to add some sample data, one optional thing you can do is you can hit the gearbox up top right and then go to advanced settings. Okay, this will take a few seconds to open up. This is the backstage of Dataverse, where you can kind of set all the stuff that you want to do. This will take a few seconds to open up. And it's not important that you do this. This is only important if you want some sample data in here. On the drop-down box where you see settings right here, you'll see data management, which is the third column over, third row down. And one of the things is sample data. If you do that, you can actually hit the import sample data right here to bring in some sample data for yourself if you want. So it's under sample data, and you'll hit install sample data is what it should say then at that point. Okay, so if you want that, you are more than welcome to do that. In my case, I'm missing. The only thing I'm missing looks like are some accounts. I thought I had some accounts in here. I guess I don't. Let me go ahead and add an account here. Okay, I'll just call this Brian Inc. And I'll just go ahead and add that and save and close that. And then I'm also going to add 2 contacts to Brian Inc. So Jim Glenn, congratulations, a fake record, of course. I'll hit the little magnifying glass here, and I'm going to add him to Brian Inc. and hit save and close. And I'll go back to my accounts again, and I'm going to go my contacts again. I'll pick another random record like Robert Lynn, and I'll also add him to an account name by hitting the magnifying glass and picking Brian Inc. and hit save and close. Again, not important there at all. So we have another question that just came in here from Stanley. Hey, Stanley, is it possible to create a column that pre-populates the user supervisors in a model-driven app? I kind of need a little information about that, but yes, you can. I think you want to do that from Active Directory, basically, right? You want to go and look at the AD and see what the hierarchy looks like. Is that correct? If it is, yes, it is possible. It will involve a little bit of work to make it happen. It might involve even things like JavaScript to make it happen also. The business rule engine that's there cannot do that automatically. However, just because when I'm in AD, like you're seeing right now, if I hover over Brian, for example, you'll be able to see all the stuff that's in AD when I click on Brian, for example, you'll see that more information there. You can also hover over it to see, is he available, and all those kind of things as well. Okay. You can also build a hierarchy and org chart inside of this. So if I want to look at Jim Glenn, that fake record here, I could go through and say that Jim reports to so-and-so. You have to just create a reports to column and say, you can create basically a self-join that he reports to Bob, who reports to Jane, and so on and so on and so on up the chain there. Okay. Another question here from John. For things like accounts and contacts, is it better to use external SQL Server on-prem tables or periodically copy them? Oh, that's a great question, John. So what would I be if I didn't say it depends? Well, in this case, typically what I would do is I would reflect that data into contacts and accounts. Yes, we can link to that SQL Server live using that external table option. But if we copy that data to accounts and contacts, and what the benefit of that is if we do that, it will enable us to be able to do things like use Power Pages later and make that their username and password. And you can do permissions and security based on that to where, hey, Jim here, our fake record, who works at Brian Inc., can only see Jim's records. Or Jim and Hank can only see Brian Inc. records. So it gives, by using the pre-existing tables and not linking the SQL Server in that case, it allows you to not code yourself into a corner where you have things like Power Pages you can eventually do. Power Pages stores all usernames and passwords into that for you if you wanted to. Okay, great question there. Thank you, Jim. All right, that was John, sorry. All right. So with that now done, we have our app now built. We have our merch items roughly in here. We can also go over to merch request, and let's put a dummy request in here so we can kind of see how this looks. I'm going to go to merch request and hit new merch request. Notice that's read only right there. I can't type anything in there. For account, we can select Brian Inc. And then for contacts in that account, if I hit the magnifying glass to the right, we'll see only the 2 contacts at that account. So Jim Glenn, you are the benefactor here. Now, what merch item does he want? I'll hit the magnifying glass. He's going to get my nerd kit, which we send with all of our season pass people. There we go. And then when does the sales team want to see this? They want to see this on Jim's door on the 24th of August here. And any kind of notes, I'll put my notes here. All right. Notice our quick view form is showing us Jim's information down below. So when I hit save and close, our first request is now in and we're ready to go. There's also, by the way, things like this new look right here. And if I select it, you may not be seeing it. They just rolled this out recently. So you may not be seeing it quite yet, depending on when you're watching this video. If you're watching it today, it may not be out there today. But if I switch, we can always switch back. You'll start to see a new interface start to show. And it's a little bit cleaner here from the interface perspective. So when I go to the form, they kind of do more fluid controls here in this case, where it kind of looks more containerized and more clean in this case. So the other thing you can do, by the way, is in your application, when I'm looking at the application, you'll see settings up top here as well. Settings, one of the neat settings you have now, and this, you don't have to do this, guys. If I go to features, there's a whole bunch of upcoming features that are pretty nifty upcoming. One of those is for things like try them to look and feel, but also you have this smart address view here. This will make it to where if somebody types a bogus email address for Jim, it will then not let them hit the save button. So you just toggle that on. You also have to turn it on at the environment level as well. So it has to be turned on at the environment and then turned on here. So once you do that, you just have to save and publish again, or just publish the app again, and it will then be ready after you turn it on the environment level. Okay, so we'll come back to that later, but looks pretty darn good now. We have our app ready to go. I'll hit the back button in the app, and there's our merch request queue. All right, let me kind of show you one more time here. Here's our application. We have our items. We have our request. And then, of course, we have our contact info and our customer info down below. So it's noon. You just built your first application from end to end using Dataverse. Now we're ready to get into a more fun example using a Canvas application next. So again, let's kind of rehash why we would choose each of these. So Canvas applications, why we would use a Canvas application is it makes it where you limit the options for your end user. They can only do so many things in a Canvas application. And the things they can do are what you tell them. The pro of the Canvas application is they look prettier. You're kind of guiding a user down a certain path. The con of it is, hey, we got 2 hours left. It's going to take that to build our Canvas application. We may finish early. That's okay. So Canvas applications take longer to build because there's more code involved. The code we're going to use is code called PowerFX. And if you're curious about where you can find a coding language for that, if you Google Power Apps cheat sheet or Bing or whatever, you'll find the first link in there is our Pragmatic Works Power Apps cheat sheet. And at the bottom is all the common code you have there for that. So this allows you to make it where it's super easy to build stuff out. It can be super, super pretty. However, it does require more work, probably 3 to 4 times more work to build out a Canvas app than a regular app. Some of the other pros is you can use things like component libraries, which are reusable widgets of code. These allow you to easily find like a header, a footer, a menu structure, and use it over and over again. Matter of fact, if you search for Power Apps, let's see here, let's search for GitHub. There it is. John, would you mind putting this link in the chat window also? Here is our UI framework here, which with a video right there. This UI framework is going to allow you to do things much faster when you're building Canvas applications. So you'll find that link. I'll zoom in a little closer here. You can just Google Pragmatic Works UI components, and it will get there. I'll put that up a little bit more here. And John, if you don't mind putting that in the chat window, I'll get myself off the screen here for a second and zoom in a little closer on that. So, I'm zooming in the wrong window there. There we go. So you can see that one more time there. So Canvas applications allow you to have reusable widgets that make it easier to build Canvas applications with. You'll find tons of libraries out there that are already available for you. You can build one for your own company, but the goal is to build beautiful applications for your frontline workers. These applications will work on any kind of device, a Mac, a PC, an iPhone, or an Android, or any kind of tablet PCs. It will not matter. You'll build one set of code and it'll work across the board. So we're going to build a Canvas application now. If you have already built it, don't worry, we're going to show you some cool stuff if you've already built some Canvas apps. If you have never built a Canvas app, we'll start from the ground up, walking you through this. But we are going to show you some new things in here also that are brand new to Power Apps. So I'm going to go back over here again, and let me tuck myself on the side here, and then I'm going to go back to my solution. So I'm going to start from scratch here. I'm going to go back to my solution, or I can go to make.powerapps.com and to start from scratch. I will then go to my right environment. All right, there it is. And then I'll go to my solutions and find the solution I created earlier. Chances are you're already in the solution and you don't have to do that gyration that I just did. Once in the solution, you can see we already have an app here. So we're going to go ahead and create a new app. So I'll go up top when I have all or app selected, hit new, app, Canvas app. Then I'll select a tablet app and I'll type in merge request. All right. And then app or whatever you want to call it, and then hit create. Okay. So over the next hour and a half or so, we're going to build out a Canvas app from the ground up. Then we'll show you some extra goodies that have not been seen before. The first thing that we're going to do to start with is I'm going to turn on something called Modern Controls. As of today's live event, Modern Controls is still preview, but they have some really cool stuff inside that. To get Modern Controls, I'll hit Settings up top here. And when I do Settings, I'll go to Upcoming Features, and I'll just search for Modern. There they are. Try New Modern Controls. And I'll flip that to True. So again, just to recap that again, I hit Settings, I went to Upcoming Features, and I searched for Modern, and I toggled that on. Okay, this is optional, but some of the things we're going to do are going to be using modern controls, which are pretty darn snazzy. All right, so we're ready now to do our thing here. You'll notice now that when I click on the insert ribbon up top, that allows us to add new stuff. We have modern controls and classic controls. Okay, we'll be using most, but we'll mostly be using classic controls today. Let's give you a little tour just in case you are new to Power Apps here. All right, so on the left side, we have our tree view. That's what we're in right now. This tree view here, let me actually go full here so you can see the whole thing here. There we go. The tree view allows us to see all the controls that you're seeing right here inside the application, all the screens, all the buttons, all the galleries, all the forms. That's what the tree view gives us. As you can see in the tree view right now, we have one screen just called screen 1, and that's all we got right now. Additionally, if I look under the next one down is my insert ribbon. The insert ribbon gives us a list of all the goodies that we can do to make this application more fancy. Okay, you can also add your own things to this. Again, we have insert, we have classic, and we have modern. Okay, all right, okay, I got it. And then you also have the insert ribbon up top. So whatever is comfortable for you, hit the plus button on the left, hit the plus button up here. Either way, it does the same thing. The next option down is data. This would be all the items that you want to add, all the tables that you want to add, all the, so I think before it was mentioned about Office 365, getting the manager from that. We can add the Office 365 users area, and that will allow us to add options like that. Media is for our logos and stuff. So if I go to media, I can upload a quick logo here. I think I've got one here under pictures. And I'll just look for a logo. And if I do that, I'll find our Pragmatic Works logo, and it basically uploads that logo there. Okay, not important. You don't have to do a logo or if you don't want to. Okay. Next one down is for Power Automate integration, to where we can add flows to it. And then after that are a list of all of our variables, all of our advanced tooling, and then the ability to search and replace. So if I'm going to change all fonts from X to Y, that's how you can do it. And then this little hamburger here will collapse and compress it, okay? So most of the time you're gonna spend in the tree view. That's gonna allow you to hop around. And for today, I'm gonna use, largely, I'm gonna use the tree view, and we're gonna keep all the standard names, like screen 1, screen 2, button 1, and so on and so on. However, largely in real world, we would change screen 1 to something like SCR, which represents screen, and then welcome, SCR, new request, SCR, fulfill request, and so on and so on. Make sure you don't ideally put spaces in these names though, because it's a pain in the butt if you put spaces in it to have the right code against it. So largely we don't want to use spaces in there, okay? So largely today, and only today, you can do this, change this after we're done today, but you want to make sure that you rename stuff after today to something more appropriate. But for today, so I can send code back and forth, and so you can use all my code, let's keep all the code the same. Okay. Now, one thing we can look at here is I may want to do some type of theming around this. So if I want to do a theme around this to where I have a standard colors, you'll notice right now there is theme colors. However, you can't add your own custom theme as of right now, at least, like you do in Power BI. So we have to kind of create our own color scheme and our own colors around this. To do this, what I typically prefer to do is use a new feature. This is brand spanking new, maybe a few weeks old. Maybe out of preview at least. It was in experimental mode for a long, long time. So now what we can do is when I select the word app on the left side, okay, this is our tree view. This, today, I'm going to refer to this as the property drop-down box. Now, you are going to forget it. So when I say property drop-down box, that's what I mean. I may even refer to it as a thing I said you would forget about. But when I say go, you'll basically select whatever you want to select, and this property drop-down box will show you all the properties that are available to you. Additionally, right next to it, you'll type in your code here. Okay, this will allow us to kind of put your code just like Excel. And in that code, you'll notice a little down arrow on the far right where you can drag it down. You can make it as big as you want. They're also doing some extra stuff in here later that you're going to love as well. You also have your properties window on the right as well. So you can change properties in the property drop-down box or on the right over here. I personally prefer to do it in the property drop-down box because it's a little bit easier to find. You'll also find, as of this week, we have ChatGPT now integrated. A little button up here, at least in my tenant, I do. It may not be in your tenant quite yet. So you can do things. Don't do this, please. I'm just going to show you, for example, here. You can say, like, add 3 buttons. Hit enter, and it will go out there and search, and then find out how to add 3 buttons, and then drop those 3 buttons in. Again, don't do this because we're going to kill these buttons in a few seconds here. There it goes. There's my 3 buttons. I can highlight them all and say, make them dark green, for example. And it will, because they're highlighted right now, it will then make the highlighted ones. Oh, it's giving me an error right now. All right, no problem. I can say, make the button green. All right, hit enter. So it does have, it's brand spanking new. It is preview, so it has some good stuff it can do, and then sometimes it's not as good at doing it. Like yesterday, I was able to change all the font, all the button colors by highlighting them all and doing them all at once. But as you can see, it basically dropped 3 buttons in, and it went ahead and gave me the ability to change the colors. All right, so ChatGPT is coming to Power Apps and the rest of the Power Platform. All right, so we want to do some kind of theming in here. There's a number of ways you can do it. Traditionally, we would select the word app, and we would do something called on start. This means when the app starts, it's going to run a series of code, whatever I put in here. The part that's brand new is formulas. I say brand new out of preview mode at least. And when I select formulas, whatever code that is in here can be called on demand. So when I call this a variable here, it will basically reprocess that variable at time of runtime, or at runtime, not design time. So, or not start time, excuse me. So this is a little bit more efficient. It's going to make your apps load faster by then the on start. And it's a little bit, I find a little bit easier because there's less steps inside of here. So our first one, I'm going to create a variable here. I want basically a constant. If you're a developer, I'll call it con for constant primary color. I notice I'm capitalizing every new word. I'll then say equal sign. What does that value equal? Is I want to basically put a color in there. To do a color, I'll type in color values, one way of doing it. You can also do RGBA as well as another word you can use. We'll show you both. Then I'll put open parenthesis, and in double quotes, I will put my color inside there. I'll do a hashtag. My hex code is 0AA9FF. It looks something like what you're seeing right there. That's my first variable. So if I want to refer to this constant, I would basically just, or this formula, I would just put that word right there wherever I want to specify a color. Now I'm going to copy and paste a few colors here. All right, there we go. And you'll find that copy and pasting inside the Word doc. This is on page 7 of the Word doc. It looks like this right here at the bonus app at the bottom here. So I just copied and pasted that into the formula section. Not important that you don't have my colors. You can put whatever colors you want. A few things to note here. First of all, you can refer to RGBA colors. That 1 is how translucent is the color. Dot 1 means it's almost transparent, where 1 is not transparent at all. You can also, by the way, click on the word RGBA, and well, it used to at least, not formulas looks like, but in some areas, most of Power Apps, you can select the word, and it will show you a preview down below of the color in that word. It's not doing it here because it's not available in formulas yet, but we'll see it in other locations. Okay, so put whatever colors you want. I'll zoom in a little closer here. This is just comments, so you know what I was adding here. So these are not important right here. You need to end each word with a semicolon. That means run this, then run this, then run this. The semicolon that you're seeing at the very end here with no line down below it is required for formulas. So we got to end with a semicolon also. Again, these double forward slashes, not required in the slightest. Okay. So the app we're going to roughly build today is going to look, it's going to have, let me kind of zoom in here. It's going to have a gallery of data. Let me zoom in a little closer here. There we go. We'll have a header up top. We'll have a gallery of data here. We'll have like request 1, request 2, and so on and so on. Then we'll have a form over here to enter a new request. Now, we're also going to have the ability to delete requests or cancel them, and we'll have the ability to only see my own request over here as well. So that's the app we're going to roughly sketch out today. To do this, I use heavily containers. And to start, and they allow you to do a few things that are pretty darn snazzy. They have some properties in there that make the apps look less cartoony and more classic application style. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in our first container. This is going to be our header for up top. Under the insert ribbon up top or the insert ribbon on the left, either way, search for container and click on the non-vertical, non-horizontal container, the one that says container right there. All right. Now stretch this however you want to make a header. Make it as big or as small as you want. Typically, what I use for headers is I use our UI components because they've been bug tested, they look really good, and they're a little cleaner than this. But in this case, it works fine for what we're trying to do right now. For the color on the right side, you'll see a fill bucket on the right side. If you click on the word color on the right side, it is going to go to the right property right here. So in your property drop-down box, by clicking on that word right there, it's going to immediately pre-populate the property drop-down box for the container and then show you what the color is right now. See how it's showing that little color preview right there? All right, so in my case, I don't want that color, the RGBA 000. I want to put CON, and look at that. It automatically finds the 3 colors that we have. I'm going to choose my con primary color. Ooh, it's a bright blue, isn't it? There we go. All right. So there's our screen, our header menu right there. We can also, for the screen one, you'll see it defaults to fill with white as a color. So if I select screen 1, I can change that to CON background color. There we go. So we get a little bit bluish tint gray right there. So my screen 1 color was CON background color, and then my container fill color was CON primary color. Awesome. So we have those 2 pieces now ready to go. And then we can drop whatever we want to into those containers to make this work. But here's why I use containers. I'm going to, first of all, when I have containers selected, make sure that you have containers selected. Otherwise, it'll put it somewhere else. Let me show you what I mean. If I go here and I drop a text label in, for example, it's going to put it outside the container, so it doesn't really belong to the app. So make sure the container is selected, then go to Insert and select Text Label. Move it to wherever it makes sense for you. Expand it to where it looks a little cleaner. Make the font, I'm going to call this, merch request on the right side. I'll make it nice and big, like 25 font. I'll bold it, and then I'll make it white. That should about do it. There we go. And I left enough space there for a logo on the left and a picture on the right, potentially. So by doing that now, if I move the container, all right, move the container, it moves everything with it. That's one reason to use these containers. The other kind of cool reason to use these is now you have 2 new properties. Border radius to kind of curve the corners, and drop shadow to create a little more texture in your application. I'm going to change that border radius on the container to 0, because I want hard edges in my case. And I'll change the drop shadow maybe to, how about semi-bold? Let's see how that looks. You may not be able to see this, but it looks a little bit shadowed now right there. It looks a little bit cleaner, I think, now. Okay. Especially as we have more on top of this, it's going to look really, really good. Okay, so the drop shadows are a nice touch, I find. So with the container now added, I'm going to insert and I'm going to search for media. There's my image right there. I'm going to click on image, put my logo there, and I'll do image one more time. And I'll move that right. But I have my logo on the left, my picture on the right. What I'm looking for here is something like what you see right there or right there, okay, for my picture. For my logo, all I have to do is select that logo, and if I have something under my media section like I have here, I can just change the image to use that. If you don't have that, no worries. Don't worry about it. Just leave it as is, the sample image, and you can say it's a placeholder for later. So you can make that however you want and kind of move that to the left or kind of restructure that how you want and make it look as pretty or as not pretty as you want. All right, that looks pretty good. Of course, we can remove that padding right there as well. On the right side, I want to put John's picture in there as our customer. So for the right side, for the code on that image, up top where it says sample image, I'm going to put the word user, open, close parenthesis, dot, and look at that. The user function gives me the user's email address, their full name, or their image. And when I do that, you'll see I get the same image I have in Office 365 now. Now, this is going to work best if you say, I want to make it an exact square. So I'm going to change this from fit to fill the square up. Now, it's not quite a square yet. So if I go down here for my size, I can make it, let's do 100 by 100. Does that work? Oh, it's a little too big. Let's go maybe 70 by 70. That looks better. And then we can kind of move it wherever we want. We can also go under the border radius, just like you do on the containers, and you can change it to 60 to be a full circle here. So now it looks just like Office 365. So again, my steps, I hit the image, I made it a perfect square, 70 by 70. Change my image position right here to fill, change it 70 by 70, and then I changed my border radius right there to 60. We could have also made our height and our width equal to something like parent.height. And that would have used the entire space inside that. So I would hit the word height button right there and you would see parent.height instead of 70. That's another option for you as well. All right. So far we got our header now done. Make sure that you save your application on the top right. And make sure you save your application about every 3 or 4 minutes, just to make sure there is autosave, but you know how that works, right? Anytime you want autosave to work, it doesn't work, right? So, and just because you save, it does not mean your customers can see anything in this application yet. You're going to need to publish that application for them to be able to see this. Now, check this out. When you publish now, they don't have it right now for some reason. All right, no problem. What's happening is you'll have the ability soon, I have to have it in my other environment. This environment does not have it right now, to take AI recommendations for my descriptions. So I can hit one button here and it would then apply AI recommendations for that. Right now, for some reason, it's not getting me this environment, but it did this morning in my other environment. So it's coming around the corner likely for you when you hit that publish button. All right, so now we need our gallery of data on the left side and our form on the right side. Just like last time, we're going to use containers to do all of this. So I'm going to go over here and do a container in this case. I'll go up top where it says insert, and I'm going to drop in a container. There we go. Perfect. Now, again, let me do this one more time to make sure everybody's on the same page here. You want to make sure nothing is selected. So if you have container selected, it's going to drop the container inside the container. So you may have to delete what you just did there. So make sure nothing is selected and do insert and then container. Okay, and just a regular old container, not a vertical, not a horizontal. Make this stretch how you want to occupy the left area that's going to occupy a queue of all the requests that are out there. Let's turn that container where it says color, let's turn it to white. So it stands out a little bit more against that gray background. Okay, maybe a little tough to see right now, but it is a slightly different color. Then you can also, I'm going to make my drop shadow more semi-bold so it kind of stands out a little more there also. So as we put our stuff inside of here, it's going to be have that drop down, that kind of look and feel you're seeing right there inside there. Next, select that container. Ours is called container 3. Yours might be called container 2. And then do insert vertical gallery. So insert and then vertical gallery right there. Now, a gallery is one way to show data inside of Power Apps. There are a few ways of doing it. Galleries, and then data. Also, you'll see over here, if I go to insert again, you'll have data tables as well. The data tables are more of an Excel type view instead. But galleries give us a lot of flexibility to show pictures, to show a lot of interaction in that data, icons and all that. So I'm going to point this when it comes open. See, it came open and asked me, what table do you want to connect this to? If you're not getting that, unselect the gallery and reselect the gallery. And if you're still not getting it, select the gallery and you'll see on the right side, data source. I'm going to search for merch, and there is my merch request right there. So make sure you select merch request, not merch items. Give it a few seconds. And then there is my one request, hopefully in a second, that we have already put out there. So there's my R1000 right there. Now for my request, I don't want to show a picture of anybody here. I just want to show the request itself. So I'm going to go by selecting the entire gallery again. You can do it in the preview mode here, or you can select it on the left side by hitting gallery 1. And I'm going to change this layout on the right side to title and subtitle. By doing that, it's going to make it where I only see the stuff I care about now. So I don't see the picture. Now we're going to fix this R1000 after our break. But as you can see here, it's all ready to go. We have things like a little arrow to select something. We also have R1000, our request number, and when was the record created? So, or when was it due? Actually, looks like. So we have those two things right there. We're gonna modify after our break. So we have now. Make sure you save first of all, and now that you've done that, you are now ready. Let's do a quick break. So we're gonna do a break for about let's do 5-minute break. I'll go ahead and let's do 7 minutes. Let's get us right till 12:35. I'm going to put a break up in a second. Let's finish that saving. And when we get back, we should hopefully, come on, save. There it goes. I'll put a timer up here, and I'll put 7 minutes on the timer. We get back, go and stretch your legs, get some caffeine. Because when we get back, we are going to show you some more goodies, some more forms, and some more new stuff that you can do in Canvas applications you have not previously been able to do. So see you in about 6.5 minutes. See you back. Well, hey there again. I hope all is well. Oh, I've been unmuted. There we go. Cool. Welcome back, folks. This is Brian Knight again from Pragmatic Works. Let me get back on camera. There we go. And let me do this real quick. All right, there we go. Let me get this out of the way. Oh, uh-oh. Okay, so welcome back, folks. This is so far what we built so far is a pretty nice looking application to go through and do marketing requests. As I mentioned before, this is part of what we do with hackathons. Hackathons are usually a day or two where we teach you with your own business problem. In case you care about looking more about that, you can find the information right there. Usually about 1 or 3 days. We do this for Power BI, Power Apps. But again, you're bringing your own problem. We don't touch the keyboard. We're teaching you how to solve these problems and future problems with that. In our next Learn with the Nerds event, we have Angelica, talking more about the PL300 certification. Some of the challenges you'll have with that certification and how to get around that also. And then lastly, we have our, you can find more about our season pass. You can find at pragmaticworks.com, and it includes a nerd box that we're talking about in this presentation. The season pass it gives you unlimited boot camps, live training, our on-demand learning, as well as one-on-one mentoring to help you get through any kind of challenges with this. We also had some questions during break that I want to go ahead and highlight right now. Let's see, we have 3 of them starred here. The first question is from Reddy here. How do I make a Canvas app also responsive? Well, great question there, Reddy. By default, apps are going to shrink and compress based on what kind of device you're using. However, the real trick to make it where I can hide certain elements if I'm running out of space or show them if I have extra real estate is with those containers. You saw earlier there was 2 other options for containers, vertical containers and horizontal containers. Those will allow you to specify what do you want to show up and what should be the rule if I'm running out of real estate. Should I hide it? Should I overflow? What should I do? Additionally, model-driven applications are automatically responsive from day one. So it makes it way, way easier. Thanks for the question, Reddy. Let's go to our next one here. Our next one is how do I connect to an on-prem data sources from Howie? And Howie, to do that, you'll need the on-prem gateway. It's the same gateway they use in Power Automate, Azure, and Power BI. Once you do that, once you add the gateway to your to Power Apps, to the make.powerapps.com, you can use it for everything at that point you want to use it for. It's like connecting to any SQL Server database. Just note it will be a little slower because you're having to go through from your machine to the cloud, then back down again to the on-prem SQL Server. So it might take a little time there, Howie, to get the data that you're not used to. The cloud will always be faster in this case, but it is possible. Next question here is from somebody else here in the audience. In a Canvas, how do I filter one table based on a column 2? Kind of like RLS. Can you do that for SQL? Yes, absolutely. We're going to show that to you in a moment. You'll use a filter command to do that, and you can absolutely do that. We're going to do that for our form on the right side in a moment. So absolutely can do that. Great question. And then our final question I see here, at least queued up. There's been over 200 questions here, looks like. Is there a way to encrypt the Power Apps code transfer from one to another account? I assume what you're meaning, AJ, is if you want to send that code, your application, your tables, to a customer, maybe you're a consultant, can I make sure that nobody can change that code? Well, when we export my solution out, we have 2 options, managed and unmanaged. If I export it as managed code, I can specify in there, it's like sending an installer, in other words. And if I send you managed code, you are not allowed to change certain elements in that package I send you. If I send you as unmanaged, it's like sending you my entire Visual Studio source code in that case. So you can change whatever you want to change. So if we're going to production and QA, you always want to do managed. And for going from dev to dev, then unmanaged. If you are a contractor or a consultant, you may want to go manage your accounts to make sure that they can't change things and break things after you leave. It's up to you. So a few things around, there's lots more around that, but largely that's how you'll do it if that was a true question that you were asking there, AJ. If it's not, I apologize. Please just kind of reframe that slightly and I'll answer that again as well. All right, cool. So I missed, Jonathan, would you mind hiding that one also? There we go. Thank you so much, John. There we go. Cool. Thank you so much. Awesome. So we are now ready to begin again our hackathon. Now, we're actually a little ahead of schedule right now. So far, we have our application now in there. We have our gallery ready to go. What we have left, we have a form to add. We've got some actions on that gallery. We got to clean up the gallery. We got to add our form. We have to give the ability to edit a record and delete a record. And then optionally at the end, if we have a little extra time, which I think we will, we'll show you how to move this to production, and we'll show you how to put this on a web page also. So we're going to show the entire Power App stack, from a canvas to a model-driven, and potentially a Power Page if we have time as well. All right, so let's begin back in where we started off at. So far, we have our gallery now in place, and there's a few things we may want to do on this gallery. Like, for example, this is R1000. That doesn't do anybody any good right now. So instead of showing R1000, I would want to show the customer's name that I want to send this merchandise to, and then the due date underneath it. So if I look up top, when I select R1000, a few things to note. If I had multiple records, you would make sure that you only select the first record. The first record is your template, and as you move stuff around, it moves the template around. If you select the second record, or where the second record would be, it selects the entire gallery, and as you move this, it moves the entire gallery around. So you want to make sure that when you select the first record, that is your template, and you can kind of move it wherever you want to move it. So the code is up top. So notice I have the R1000 selected. You'll see I'm looking at my text property, and it says this item dot request number. This item is the row name, and this row, and request number is my column name. So if I get rid of the word request number, there's single ticks around it because it has spaces in it, I'm going to get rid of that dot. And when I type in dot again under this item, it shows me all my columns that I have here. I'll select contact this time. And notice that when I select contact, I'm getting an error right now. Well, this error is, if I hover over it, what's happening is it's expecting a text value. However, we're passing it a table instead. So when you type in a lookup column for Dataverse or for SharePoint, for example, it's confused right now. It doesn't know, hey, well, what column do you want from this other table? And I haven't told it what column I want yet. So what I need to do is I need to go in here and hit dot again, and there's all the columns from my contact table. So without having to do any type of joins at all, it is automatically making it where I can go and navigate through my referential integrity, go from one table to the other table, and get the contact's information, like their full name. There we go. So I typed in FULL, and I chose full name. So it should look like this. This item.contact.full name. And again, just to make sure I show that again, I'm going to get rid of the dot, and I type dot again. As I type in FULL, it should hopefully find full name. I can then click on full name or hit tab, and it will complete that operation for me. Okay, so there we go. Well, I'm not sure why it's giving me an error now. It's literally the same code I just had in there. All right, is there a space there? Dot full name. Here it goes. It's literally the same code. I'm not sure what happened there. All right, for the due date, my customers, my marketing team, my sales team may be a little confused what that date means right there. So what I could do in front of that is I can put a double quote, type in due, colon, double quote again, and an ampersand. So if that helps, if I helps them, they can then see, why is it due there? So you can see that it looks due on this date. Looks pretty good now. So our first record is now ready to go. You can see that Jim is due something on this date. We don't know what something is yet. We'll have to select the record to actually see that. We can also make this searchable and all that. Additionally, we could drag this and make it fill up the whole screen. If you want, alternatively, like if it looks like this for you right now, alternatively, you can look at the height property and make sure it's dragged up top of your container. You can get rid of 412, and type in, this is back to the question we had from the question about responsiveness. You could type in parent.height. Parent is referring to the container, because look at this. Hierarchically, parent is one level up the container. So it says whatever the height of the container is, let me go ahead and adopt that height and put it there. Parent.height of the container would be the screen. So you can kind of navigate up the hierarchy by doing parent dot, and so on up the chain. Okay, you can also do like app.height and app.width as well. Okay, so this is actually taking up the whole area now. So I just had to make sure I drag it up there, and I did parent.height to make that happen. That's completely optional though. All right, with that done, I think we're ready to go for our form now. So for our form, on the right side, I'll make sure I have nothing selected. I clicked in the white area, so nothing was selected other than screen 1. And I'm going to insert another container. So again, I'll search for container. I'll move that to maybe like this, have it occupy my right area. And I'm going to leave a little bit of wiggle room here so it looks like I've got some gaps around it. I'll make this also white. Give that a few seconds. There it goes. And then I'll put a drop shadow on that of semi-bold. And then I'll also do a radius of this one as well, but put a border radius and a 20 on that one. That's going to kind of curve my edges, as you're seeing right here. So it looks a little bit more like a side container potentially. All right, so it looks pretty darn good of what we want to accomplish right now. So with that now done, we have our container now ready to go. I'm going to drop our form into this, and then we're going to start wiring stuff up. Now, make sure you save. And how do I get to try this, first of all? Well, you'll notice that when I hit this play button in the top right, it previews the application. And back to the question about responsiveness, we can try this in different types of devices. Like, what would this look like on an Apple right now? What would this look like on a Mini? And you can see the device screen is a little bit smaller, a little bigger, but so far it's looking okay. What would it look on an Apple phone here in this case, or an Android phone? So you can kind of simulate different types of phones. And how is it going to look like if I orient this different ways here also? Too narrow? This is where the responsiveness can work better if we do the responsive tabs, containers versus this. Okay, so you can kind of simulate that, or you can say what it looks like in a browser. If you hit the escape key or that little X right here, it will leave the preview mode and let you do that also. Okay, question here from Yoon. Is it possible to filter what's shown in the gallery, say only to what is past due? Absolutely, Yoon. So let's try that. Let's answer your question, plus another question we had a little bit earlier also. So the question was, how do I filter this gallery to where I only see things that are due after today, perhaps, or due before today, or whatever? So to do that, I'm going to select my gallery, my entire gallery. So make sure it's selected. You can do it on the left area, or pick somewhere in a white area underneath Jim Glenn. Then I'll go up top where it says height, and I'll go to my items property of that. Right now it's saying, hey, you're showing all requests. And you can hit the down arrow right below that Yoon and see that you have one record. If you slide to the right here, you'll see that record over here. Now, how do I filter? Well, if I select, let me do that there. If I pick in front of merge request and type in the word filter, open parenthesis, it's going to let me see all it's going to start filtering this data for me. So to your question, I could do a comma there, and then you can see there's my due date right there. We're going to filter and say due date is greater than today, open, close parenthesis. But I also maybe want to say, hey, I want to find out who created a record. So I go by created by. This tells me who created the record. Now, this is the question we got asked earlier also. How do I filter this table based on another table? This created by is a lookup, a foreign key, pointing to another table. So if I say created by dot, and it's going to show me all the columns for this other table. This is the user table. And if I type in primary, hopefully, there's my primary email right there. All right. I could say find the person that created the record, find their email address, and I only want to show records that are equal to, and if I type in user open close parenthesis, like you saw in my picture earlier, I can get their email address, close my parenthesis, and now I'm only seeing records that I have created. Okay. We can also do hard security on that as well, to where we have a security mechanism to only show my own records. So Yoon, to your question, to your excellent question there, you can use today, open close parenthesis, to show today's date. Only filter things that are greater than or less than or equal to today's date. To the question previously, this is how we can also filter based on a foreign key to another table on a column in that other table. So hopefully that answers two birds with one stone there. This command that I just did right here is also in my Word doc. You'll find right there at the bottom. It's on the optional enhancements to our application. Okay. So if in case you're curious and I type too fast, you can absolutely do that. This created by here is a lookup. It's a built-in lookup to the user table. The user table shows me anybody that has a license to use my application. All right, so for this container on the right, I'm gonna go to my insert ribbon up top and I'll look for an edit form. There we go. I'll move it top right or top left, and I'm gonna leave a little bit of room at the bottom for my two buttons, my save and my cancel button. So leave a little bit of room there for yourself and then make it nice and wide there as well. Once you have that form, again, just to make sure I show that one time, I hit the container and then I did insert and I have edit form. My form's name, just for mental note, is called form 1, and make sure it belongs to the container. So it's gonna make things a little bit easier to kind of manage. Then while you have that form selected, look under container and it says data source. I'm gonna point that data source to merch request. Now watch what's happening here, by the way. As I pointed to Jim Glenn here, our fake record, I go to our database icon. I can see that it actually related to the contacts table. When I answered Yoon's question, it pointed the users table. So it's added those tables automatically to my left database icon. So pretty handy. Now this form that it added did not give me everything I wanted. It has request number, it has created on, has a bunch of junk in here that I want to fix. My easiest way to fix this is to go to the right with the form selected and hit edit fields. Then I'm going to get rid of request number, leave due date. I'll leave, I don't want the fulfilled item because this is not marketing using this. This is my sales team using this. So I only left due date there. Then I'm going to hit add field and I'm going to check account, contact, let's see here, merch item that the sales wants to send him, and merch notes. And I think I've got it now. I should have, let's see here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 5. Yep. So I'll hit add. Now, once you add those, you'll get some errors for a quick second, then it goes away. One thing you can do, if you want to kind of rearrange things, you can hit the 3 dot right where it says add fields, collapse everything, and then you can move things around. Like, so for example, if I want merch notes up top, I can just drag and drop it and it kind of reshifts things around. That's completely up to you on where you want things. Your application, guys, can look completely different. That is okay. All right, and you can also, by the way, while you're looking at things like merch notes here, notice you can change this to have things like, rich text editors. They can have like a word processing engine, like a spell checker and all those kind of things. I'm not going to change anything inside there. I kept this order myself, up to you guys, and I'm going to hit the close option right here on fields. Now, I have a lot of real estate I could use, and I'm wasting a lot of it. So I'm going to change, first of all, my number of columns right here to 1. Play around with it and see what you like. I chose 1 so I can fill that space up, but you can try a few things to see what works for you there. I think that looks halfway decent, but completely what you wish there. All right. Then I'm going to drop 2 buttons in down here. a save button, and a cancel button. To do that, I'll go to Insert, and you should see Button right there. And I'll go to Insert. Oh, and notice what I did wrong here. I was not in the container when I did that. So I'm going to delete that button, select my container, make sure it's your container, not your form, then do Insert, Button, Insert, Button. Now these buttons cannot leave the container. I can't drag those outside. They are bound and they will always honor the container at that point. Now, color these buttons however you want. My primary button here, I'm going to go to my fill color of that primary button, which is right here for that button. And I'm going to change it to CON accent color. Perfect. Okay, that kind of gives it a dark blue color. For my other color, I'll just use this little fill bucket here and make it dark red. Do whatever you want though. I'm going to call my red button on the right here where it says text, cancel. For my other button, I'm going to call it save. Perfect. So one's called save, one's called cancel. And color them however you want. Doesn't matter what you want to do there. It's not going to hurt anything in the slightest. Okay, so we are almost there with this application, believe it or not. We're rocking and rolling. Make sure you save, guys. And let's start with the easy one first. Let's start with that cancel button. So for the cancel button, we have to do a few things on that. We want to make sure that when it cancels, that it resets the form back to square one. So any default values get reset out. This is a good practice. And then we're also going to reset the form back to new mode. What I mean by that, check this out. If I hit the play button right now, the form is not in new mode. It says no item to display. What that means is this form can be in multiple modes. See when I select the form? It says default mode is edit mode. That means it wants to edit a record. And it's asking, well, what record do you want to edit? That makes no sense to me at all. So we would have to change this edit mode to new mode. So again, if I hit the play button, right, it says no item display, meaning I haven't told it what record to edit. If I instead change that form to new mode and then hit play, now it's ready for a new record, not for an update. We'll come back to edit mode in a few minutes here also. But as you select this, notice that as you hit play, we got our data now. These buttons do nothing at all right now. We're about to fix that. You can change the hover colors and all that, of course, also. Okay? So for our cancel button, we want to reset it and then also put it back in new mode. Now, why is that? Well, anytime we save a record, even if we're in new mode as our default way, it is going to revert back to edit mode. So we're going to force it that when we hit cancel or when we hit submit to stay in new mode, ready for a next new record. So I'll select the cancel button. And right now on the on select of this cancel button, you see false. False means that nothing happens when you click on me. So I will type in new, and look at that. It writes the code for me. Hit tab, and then close it. All done. Then I can do a semicolon saying, yeah, do new mode, and then also reset the form. Here we go, reset form, tab, close. All right, so it's gonna reset the form and set it to new mode, 1-2 punch here. So cancel button is now ready. We, of course, can have multiple screens and have it navigate to another screen when you hit cancel to go back to the list. We're keeping this really simple because we only have 3 hours to build 2, actually maybe 3 applications. We'll see. All right, for our save button, just as easy as the cancel button, when you click save, look for your on select of the save. Then we go to false. We'll change that to submit form. Tab, close parenthesis. So we're submitting the form. And it's asking, well, what data do you want to submit? Form 1. So what happens when we do submit form? If the form is in new mode, it's going to insert a record in the database. If the new form is in edit mode, it is going to edit the record that's been selected in the database. There's also ways of sending data to the database called patch. Patch can also work And Patch will allow you to be more specific about how you want to insert that into the database. So either way works like a champ. All right, with that done, we can go and select that. Now, what happens next? We submitted our data to the database. However, what we have not done is, gone through and do extra steps like setting the form back to new mode and doing all that kind of stuff. We haven't told the user the record hasn't made it yet. So to do that, we could put a semicolon here and chain things together. But as a best practice, what I want you to always do, it's not a whole lot of always rules in technology, but this is an always rule. What I want you to do is when you select the form, make sure the whole form is selected. What you'll do is you'll go and go to your property drop-down box above me right now. Whoop, there we go. And look for the on select property, also on success property, excuse me. The on success property means that what happens if that row successfully makes it to the database. You may have seen there's also an on failure and on reset, other kind of motions also you can do if it successfully does that. So if the row successfully makes it to the database, we're going to fire the code that you see right here. So why separate that? Well, if we don't put it here, if an error happens, we would never see the error message. It would have reset the form back to new mode, told us things are happy-go-lucky, and things have failed. By putting it here, if an error happens, we'll be able to see the error message and start to diagnose that error message as a user. So in my case, again, I'm on the form, on success, and right now, there's two things I want to do. I'm going to notify the user they did a good job. I'll hit the word notify. And in double quotes, I'll put, bravo, I see a new request, or whatever you want to put in there. Don't close your parenthesis quite yet, because there's a few more things you want to do. We'll do a comma after your double quotes. And of course, you can put an ampersand there, and you can say new request for, and then do an ampersand and say, show me the last record submitted. We're going to leave that alone right now. Okay. Then we'll do a comma, and as you type in the word success, look up right here. It says notification type. This is saying that it's giving us a clue that as I type in success, that it's going to give us notification type .success. All that does is make the bar up top green to say, bravo, great job. You can also do notification there's errors, there's warnings, there's information messages, and so on and so on. After we do that, we'll do comma. And now you'll notice up top in the bold, how long should this stay open? I'm going to type in 2000, which will give me 2 seconds of play time before it goes away. It automatically shuts down. Then I'll do a semicolon saying, show the notification for 2 seconds, and then reset the form back to new mode again. Here's my code. I'll zoom in a little closer here for you. And so the new form again is going to revert to edit mode unless I do that new form right there. So what this is going to do is going to show the little bar for 2 seconds, go away, and then reset the form. We can put this in whatever order we want to. This could also be navigation code right there. That's the word navigate, to navigate from point A to point B. So this allows us to do a whole bunch of stuff here. Let's go ahead and save that. And while we're saving, I see a question coming in. When I create a lookup table, what name is used for the related table? Display name, physical name, primary name column? Great question. So if you want to do a lookup column like we did earlier, you'll notice it's going to use a display name by default. When you're using a Dataverse, it can also use the physical name behind the scenes, like PW underscore whatever column name also. So you'll use, for example, I go up here and I'm going to do a lookup against this. For example, don't do this, guys. I'll type in the word lookup. And if I type in the word accounts, notice it's giving me the display name for those, like merch items, our merch request. So it's giving me the display name to use there inside that. Hopefully they answer your question. And I appreciate that also. Awesome. Okay, so with that now done, we have our rough sketch of the app done. Make sure you save, and then let's play this application. Now we can, of course, default this to a new date. So for example, if we want to default that due date, what we can do, and you can feel free to do this with me if you want, you're going to select due date. You'll right click and say unlock. That's because Microsoft is controlling that field until you unlock it, saying, I want to do this myself now. Now this becomes a custom card that you control, not Microsoft. So once you unlock it, select that date picker, and you can put whatever you want to in there. So for example, you could put today, open, close parenthesis, and now it gives me today's date. And if I do like plus 30, it will default to 30 days from now. So by default, it will always have 30 days. You can also make it read-only, where the salesperson does not control this. To make it read-only, I would select the card. See this card that's around this? I would select that card, and then I would, where it says display mode right there, I would click on display mode and change that from parent.display mode to display mode.view. And that basically makes it view only, or display mode.disable. Whatever you like the best, you can control that. Again, that's only if your rules require that. So you don't have to do those last steps if you don't want. But it makes a salesperson have one less step to work on now. Okay? All right, let's play this app again. Let's see what it looks like now. Looks pretty good, I think. We'll select Brian Inc. Now, you notice we have not done any filters right now to limit these contacts to Brian Inc. That would basically be a filter command like we've been using to say only show me the accounts only show me the contacts at this account. It's not very hard to do. It's one line of code. So I'll select Jim Glenn again. The merch item that Jim's going to get is going to be our Learn with the Nerds XL t-shirt. And I'll make a different contact. Let's go ahead and go with Yvonne here, sample contact. Blah, 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 and then I'll hit save. Now, watch what happens when I save, right? All right, 1, 2, gone. And again, do the same thing again. Brian Inc. I'll pick this person right here. I'll do whatever product A is, save, and I'll do one more just for good measure here. I'm just kind of playing along here. And this time I'll go ahead and say he's going to get a shirt also, blah, 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 and hit save. There we go. Now we can see the different records here. As we kind of select this arrow, nothing's happening yet. We'll fix that, but nothing's happening. And in a moment, we'll show you how to address that. Now, as soon as we've done that, you'll notice that in my other application, and you don't have to do this, my other application though, which is right here, if I refresh this, I have 4 new records. So everything's starting to come together. The marketing team can look at this and start to process these requests if they wanted to right now also. Where my sales team can see what the status of these requests are, and my marketing team can select the request and see Brian is the one that created this request, and here's all the information for Yvonne or whomever you want to deploy it to. Okay, so it makes it where it's super easy to kind of tie this stuff together. Let's go back to our application. I think it's, let me find that application again. There we go. Okay, so we got a lot of good stuff inside of here, but I still need to be able to edit a request and see that request. And I also need to be able to remove a request if the customer has made me angry and I want to I made a mistake or whatever, right? So we need to do both of those things right now. So my first step, I want to go ahead and do something that you may not have seen yet. This is really cool. So see this arrow that you have here? Just to remind you again, the first arrow is your template. As you move it around, every arrow underneath it will move around also. My second arrow selects the whole gallery. So every row but the first record is every row but the first record is the gallery, and your first record is your template. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this right arrow here to I'm going to actually get rid of it altogether. Let's just do that. Let's do something really cool here. I'm going to get rid of that arrow. All right, and then I'm going to select inside of this. Now, for a second here, I don't want you to do anything for this next few seconds here. What I'm going to show you here is a new control. This control is called a tab list. And this is why we added the modern control list earlier. So this modern tab list that you're seeing right here, you'll go under tab list to do this. If you don't see the modern one, again, you have to go to settings, go over, in case you've been fast forwarding me, go over to upcoming features and look for modern to get that. So if you don't see it, that's how you get that modern control. But I'm going to go over to insert. I'm going to type in tab. while I had the first record selected. So make sure the first record is selected now. Now go ahead and play with me now. With the first record selected, I'm going to insert a tab list. Boom. All right. Now it looks like it's occupying a lot of room here. Let me show you what this looks like normally. So don't do this one piece here, okay? I'm going to kind of shrink this down about like this for the time being, okay? But don't do this quite yet. Okay, so hopefully you have that tab list in that first record. So every record has a list of tabs inside of it. So if I were to go and insert the tab list again, and don't do this part, and I'm going to point some random table here. Here we go. Notice that I get all these tabs right here. This is what the tab list gives me, where I can kind of flip around and see the records. As I hold down the Alt key, I can kind of interact with the app, or as I hit the play button, I can interact with this app also. So by holding the Alt key or the Command key on a Mac, it lets you click on the buttons. But watch what happens as I shrink this down as a responsive control. Look what happened. I got a little dot, dot, dot. As I shrink it down even more, oh, there it goes. I have a dot, dot, dot. That's what our goal is going to be, is to create a dot, dot, dot like this, and then get the records like you see right there. Okay, so we're going to create a drop-down list, basically. So for this first dot, all right here, you'll notice on the right side, it's looking for a table that you want to go to. Now, get back engaged with me. Let's have some fun again. So select your tab control in the first record only. Up top, it says items, top left. And you can go over to items and you can go ahead and click inside there if you want also. So go to your code for that little tab control in that first record. Now, we need to provide it a list of tab names. We can point to a table. We can point to a collection, which is an array in memory. Or we can create a table that's just a temporary table for ourselves. To do that, we'll type in the word table, open, close parenthesis, and inside that table, there's no records right now. See this right here? It has nothing inside of it. So we can do an open, close curly, which represents a record. Okay, now we see 1033 right now, and so on. Same tab list over and over and over again. Inside the curly braces, we'll type in tab name, colon, and inside double quotes here, we'll put what we want the tab name to be. So for example, we could put the word edit. Then we can also grab the curly to curly. The curly to curly represents one record. See right here, tab name, edit. That's one record there. If I want two tabs, I can do a comma and then put the next one and change that one to delete. So it should look something like this when it's all done. That creates a temporary table with the word edit and the word delete as our tab names. Now, if you want to get really fancy here, you can also put icons in there. I don't know about Macs, but on a PC, I can hit the Windows key, dot, and that opens up a list like this of icons, of emojis. And for my edit, I'll pick a pencil maybe. There we go. I'll type in PEN, and I'll click on whatever edit icon I want. There we go. For delete, I'll hit inside the double quotes there. I'll hit the little Windows key dot, and then I'll look for maybe a trash can or a cancel or something like that. There we go. I like that X there. There we go. So again, this is your application. You don't have to do that. You don't have to put these silly things in here like this or the icons in here, or it's completely up to you. Okay? I kind of like it, but many people may not like it. So then, when I have that first little dot, dot, dot selected, you'll notice that right now it has these numbers on it. That's odd. So what we can do is with that first record tab control selected, on the right side where it says edit, I can click the fields edit. And I'll add what field do I want to show as the tab names. I want to show the tab name, and I'll hit add. Now when I hit the dot, 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 you see our two controls here, edit and delete. Now, neither one of them do anything right now, but at least it kind of gives me the code I can start to build on now. All right, pretty nifty, right? So now we're going to build some code that's going to edit that and delete that. Let's start with the delete first, and it's a little bit easier for us. Okay, So to do that, I find that this little ... button is a pretty shared language that most people understand. So when they understand that that ... means there's something underneath that. So that's why we typically use those. So for this ... I would recommend that you copy this line of code right here out. Control C it to copy it for my item. The reason I'm having you copy it is because you're going to use this pencil edit, pencil delete in just a moment. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and grab that line of code. Then I'm going to go to the on select of that ... of the tab list. And then I'm going to paste in my code here, and I'm going to comment it out, 2 forward slashes. And then right below that, I'm going to go ahead and create a little more wiggle room here. We're going to go ahead and see how we can use this code. So our first step is we'll type in the word. We can use an if-then statement. But if we have more than one record, for example, we might have dozens of records, then the switch command makes more sense than an if-then. If-then makes good sense for 2 conditions or 3 conditions maybe. But I'm going to kind of get used to doing a switch command in this case, just in case I have more than one. This example was from Reza, by the way. Great job on this. I want to make sure I give a shout out to him because this was an awesome UI trick that he posted a few days ago. So I'll use a switch command, and I'm going to say switch. Now I want to find out what they selected. So I could type in tab control, whatever, or I can type in self. Self means, hey, what item did they select? So self dot selected. Okay. I could also type tab list 1 dot selected. That's the name of my tab list. See, it says tab list 1 I can do as well. So self dot means whatever I clicked on, the button I clicked on, whatever they did, so whatever they selected. So self dot selected dot tab name. If it's equal, so evaluate what was clicked on, comma. If it was the word edit, I'm going to copy this right here. So I want you to copy and paste it. If it was that, then, comma, we're going to do some code right here. Okay? So if it was edit, then let's go ahead and change that form to edit form, form 1. All there is to making that form ready for editing a record. All right, comma. What if they do delete form? Let's go ahead and grab that from a double quote to double quote. Here we go. So if they select delete, comma, what is our command for that one? Well, I want to remove the record. Okay, from what table? From the merch request table. Make sure it's merch request and not merch items. The number one mistake that people make there. All right, and let me go ahead and put a few enters here so you can kind of see this a little cleaner here. All right, the spacing does not matter, by the way. I'm just doing this so it'll be a little cleaner for you guys to see this. I'll zoom in a little closer so you can see it as well. All right, so for merch request, I want to remove the record from the merch request table. What record do you want to remove? I'll do comma, this item. This item refers to the row that you want to delete. I need a close parenthesis for that and a close parenthesis one more time. Okay. Optionally, between those close parentheses, you could say, hey, just in case for good measure, I'm going to do a new form, form 1 also. It's up to you if you want the form to revert back to new mode just in case. It's completely up to you. As for good precaution, I'm going to do that just in case. Okay. So one thing you can do is you can hit the format text, and it will kind of clean your code up so it's a little more readable here also. Okay, let me kind of skinny that down. I'm going to share that, and now you could get rid of that commented text there if you wanted to. But what this is saying is, hey, look, evaluate what item was selected from my tab. And if it was the edit button, then edit and change that form to the right of me to edit mode. If it was the delete button, then remove the record. You could also pop up a box to say, hey, are you sure you want to delete this record? You could do a whole bunch more stuff there. You'll use variables to show and hide things like that. And then optionally, we did new form after that. So essentially, one neat thing about Power Apps is when I select this close parenthesis, you can see who's it's married to right here. So you can see that's highlighting this guy above it as well. Let's test drive this bad boy. I'm going to hit the play button. Then I'll look at Yvonne's request here. I'll try delete and gone. Sweet. I love it when a plan comes together, right? Now the edit button. I'll hit the edit button and no item to display. Well, what in the world is happening here? Well, what's happening is as I go through the edit process like this, it is the form is in edit mode, but again, it doesn't know what row to edit. So to finish this puzzle, we're going to select the form over here. We'll then go to the item property. This item property is only used when the form is in edit mode. For that, we'll type in something like gallery 1, which is the gallery on the left there, dot selected. So edit the row that was selected in the gallery on the left. So now let's play that app. All right, now we're seeing the record. We can make some changes now. I can say, no, it's not Yvonne. It's going to be Susanna. And I'll hit save. And now watch Yvonne turns to Savannah, and it's back in new mode again. So again, we'll go back to that Sydney here and hit edit. And now we see Sydney. I'll change that. Well, the due date is now 9/9 and hit save. Notice it's not letting us change that due date. That is on purpose right now based on the requirements. But we could say, hey, if you're in edit mode, show me the old due date. If you're in new mode, allow me to do this. We could put some catches in there like that if we wanted to. So this looks pretty awesome though. So as we go through, again, delete works, perfect. Edit's working. I can also add new records here, blah, blah, blah. Looking pretty clean, right? So this application was built in under 2.5 hours right now. You have built two and a half applications right now. So make sure at this point that you publish your application, top right. When you hit publish, it is going to save the application also. And then hit publish. Again, there's some new features that are really cool that will let AI self-document that as well. Okay, so we're going to go off script now for a second. And definitely for this one, you just want to kind of watch this for a second. So here's the question. We have provided the sales team an option to get rid of that. There we go. We provide the sales team a way of entering requests and the way for the marketing team to fulfill those requests. Well, what if I want to provide a way for the customers to request something also? Well, how can I do that? Well, Microsoft has a tool that interfaces with Dataverse called Power Pages. And what we're going to do really quickly here in our next 20 minutes, wasn't planning on this, but I think it'd be a pretty cool example, is to show the complete stack. So you're going to see the ability to add a record through a web page instead. Now, likely you're not ready for this yet. You don't have a Power Page stood up. We have a whole series on how to do this if you want. Or you can watch this video and create your site after the fact. This is one of my favorite technologies. This is going to enable your customers who do not have authentication into your domain to interface with their own data in your domain. So why would I use that? Well, I might have a hiring portal where people are uploading their stuff, or my sales team may not know the customer's size, shirt size, and we send them an automated request saying, "Hey, I saw you signed up for our season pass. Do you want to go ahead and pick a size now?" They can hit the button. It goes right to the web page. They pick their size, hit save, and then it goes in the queue here also. You can also use it for things like onboarding of a new patient, perhaps, or lots of other examples you can use. With Power Pages, you do not have to name every individual user that's interfacing with your website. You only have to license the capacity for people to come in. So I can license it for maybe 75 people a month, and it could be different people each month coming in. It's a very cost-effective way. For that price, Microsoft gives you the website, the database, and the application. So let's see how we can do that. I've already published this application. I'm going to open up a new tab, and I'm going to go to make.powerpages.microsoft.com. Once there, I'll make sure I'm in the correct environment, which I am. All right. I'm going to hit, I already got a site created right now. But in case you don't do this now. But I can hit the, I thought I had a site created. Goodness. All right, is it still loading? I created one this morning, I thought. Oh, I think I may have created another environment here. That's okay. I want to refresh one more time, make sure I don't. If you click create a site here, I can pick a template of what I want, choose a template I want, give it a name of some sort. You can make it a custom domain to where people don't see powerappsportals.com. You can do all of that, of course. There's tons of templates you can do, and then you hit done. This will go out and start the construction of that site and build it out for you. Unfortunately, I built this in a different environment. Absolutely fine. I will go ahead and drag that other environment down. Well, I did build in this environment. So site 1 is what I built already. You see site 2 is starting to spin up. Now, while we're talking here, we have a few questions here. One from Alan. How do I work with related tables in a Canvas application scenario when I use a SharePoint list or Dataverse? So when I was tying, you can see our other videos that we've done. When you're looking at Gallery 1, for example, it shows all the merchandise. You can, let me just build a quick example here. Let me show you what I mean here, Alan. All right. So in this Canvas app, let's imagine I want to select one of these. I want to see what merchandise people are picking here. I'm just going to throw in another gallery here. Don't do this, guys. I'm going to drop in a quick gallery. There we go. And I'm going to say merch items this time. So show me all the items that people can purchase. All right. Let me do this on another screen here so I don't screw up this one here. I'm going to build a quick new screen. Boom. Boom. Let me drop that in. Oh, I thought I dropped it. I must not have copied it. There it goes. Here's all the items they can purchase, Alan. And then I'm going to drop another one over here of all the requests. This will be my merch request coming in here. All right, so if I interpret your question, how do I select an item over here on the left and only see the request for that item? So in this case, what I can do is I can say filter on the right gallery, do a comma, and I'll say I only want to see when they request a certain type of item. So I want to say, look at all the requests. I have a column in there called merch item, I believe. Make sure you pick the singular version of it, not the plural version. The plural version is your table. And so if I type in merch, if I type in item, for example, it should find it there. Oh, is it not finding it? I forgot what I called. There it is, merch item. So merch item. And now here's the tricky part, Alan. I have to say dot. What column do I want from that other table? Well, I want the merch item table again, the GUID here. So merch item again. So merch item is my lookup column. And in that table, I want the GUID, the unique identifier for that, is going to be equal to gallery 2, I think its name is. Gallery 3, I guess. There it is. The gallery on the left here is not it. Gallery 2. Yeah, that's my gallery over here. Dot selected. Dot, and you should see merch item. All right, so what is this saying, Alan? This is saying, let me zoom in here. I have a lookup column in my request table called merch item. And in that merch table, there's a column called merch item. That's my primary key, my foreign key in this case. Now, I want to compare that to what you selected in the gallery. So give me the same GUID in the gallery. Compare GUID to GUID, global unique identifier to global unique identifier. And then I can then go and select these. And you'll notice that some of them are disappearing as I select these. And some of these are showing request 1001, 1004, and then nothing. Hopefully that answered your question there. Okay. All right. From Karen. If you have a user that's offline, is the data available to be stored on local devices and synced later? Absolutely. I have a video on that, Karen, you can find on our YouTube channel about how to do that. So that allows you to, so you can essentially go through and store it in a collection. You can use things like save data to store it on a phone device and then stream it up later. For example, we have a customer, a nonprofit in Africa, who's watching these cameras on these refugee areas, animal refuge areas. So they're watching cameras, and they basically as people go and maintain those cameras, they're offline during that time. So they go in and they add all that data in, and at the very end, they hit save when they get back to Wi-Fi, and it pushes it all at that point to the cloud. Great questions, Karen, and my other question there as well. So meanwhile, back in Power Page land, I will go and edit the site. Now, this is going to open up a site designer where I can go through and add pages, add galleries of data, add forms, and the like. So it is now 1:30. I bet you in about 15 minutes, we can show some data and have a form to enter that data. So let's see how fast we can do this. Now, to do this, notice Copilot is now integrated in here as well, where I can say stuff like, add a new page. And when I hit enter, it's going to go out there and start to work on that for me. Or I can just hit this little plus button over here to add a new page. Okay. This is a brand new site. I haven't done stuff into this here, but you can see in a moment here, it's going to start to do that now. It can do theming for you. You can do all sorts of fun stuff for you. I'm going to be impatient here and just going to let it go ahead and do its thing and still working on time. I'm going to cancel that task in the background. This feature is actually, I did not see this yesterday. It's brand new as of today. So I'm going to add a page the manual way, and I'll just call this merch request. Okay? I'll pick a template for it and hit go. All right. Then I'm going to say, show me a list of all the merch request items that added a page there. Okay. This took a long time to do that, but I'll forgo that. So when I go over to my merch request right here. All right, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and do a list now. And for that list, check out what's happening. This is a list of data of all the requests they may have done. I'm going to choose a table, and I'm looking for merch request. This is the customer now. And now it wants to know, well, what view do you want to show? I would typically create a custom view for this, where the customer only sees the columns that I want to do. Not enough time for that, so I'll just go ahead and do this. And then I'll hit done. Give that a few seconds. And now it's saying, it's giving me some fake data. And it's saying, well, I see what you want to do, but I have no permissions to do this. So what I can do is I can hit the preview button, hit desktop, and see what this page looks like. All right, let's give it a few seconds to spin up this website here. It's spinning it up now, and now it's going to page not found for a reason here. It's saying that, hey, you don't have permissions to see this page. It has secure data on it, maybe. So if we want to, we can go through and we want to turn on the ability to see some data. This is taking forever, isn't it? Goodness. There it goes. So it says page not found because I don't have access to the data underneath it. So if I sign in, that should help it. I'm going to sign in. We're up top here. And I'm going to use Azure AD, but you can also use Facebook, LinkedIn. You can create your own account here. I'll use Azure AD for the time being. And for the first time, I'm giving Azure, first time and first time only, I have the granted access to my Azure AD. Okay. Once it does that, it's going to go away for a few seconds and grant that access inside of Azure AD or intra, whatever you can call it now. Here's my profile. It does allow for multiple languages, by the way. And we're going to see a big old red error message in a moment here saying that we don't have access to any data right now. Okay, so how do we fix that next? Well, how we fix that, I'm not seeing my red error message. It's okay, but we can fix that. I'm going to hit this permission button right here, and I'm going to grant me access to see some data. So I want to give me access to the merch request table. I'm going to go ahead and select global access, means that anybody can see anybody's records. Don't want to do that. Contact means that you can see only your own records. And account means that John and I can see each other's records because we work at the same company, Brian Inc. So those are the three ones you really care about. I'm going to select contact access. It shows me the relationship between one and the other. So in my case, it's the contact record. Then I'm going to say, what can you do with this? Well, you're allowed to do anything with that record. And I want to say, well, what kind of security role must you have? I'll hit new role. And hey, if you're authenticated, that's enough. But you could create different roles, one for students, one for teachers, and one for the district, for example. So when I save that, there we go. I'm going to preview that again, and let's see what happens. Okay, give it a few seconds of refreshing right now. It's purging the cache and reloading the cache. Now, I'm not going to see any records right now because my contact record does not have any requests yet. And that's okay. We're about to fix that in a moment here. It takes a little while when you hit preview because it purges the cache each time. So now we're going to create a form to enter new request. That final step, I'm going to I'll be lazy here and drop that form right underneath it, but we could put it on a new page also. So I'm going to create a new column right here. And in that new section, I'm going to drop a form in. Now, again, we would ideally create a form for, a special form just for the website. Now, we can use AI here and build that form for us. But in my case, I'm going to do a new form manually. I'll point to that same merch request table. Okay, somewhere in here, merch request. There we go. Awesome. And then I'm going to point over to the same form we created earlier. And I'm going to say whenever you submit this, it's going to create a new record. On submit, it's going to show me congratulations. And I'm going to turn off this terrible CAPTCHA, which was invented by the devil somewhere in the 1700s. You can also allow attachments if you want, and then I'll hit OK. Give that a few seconds. There's my form. This is the same form, model-driven form that we created earlier. So when I preview this time, it's going to save when I preview, and we'll then see the form that we have here. Now, a good question from Kathy here, while we're waiting for this to load up here. Could I use a Microsoft form for the customer and then make requests that way? Now, Kathy, to do that, to have it save into Dataverse, you would have to have a Power Automate that whenever it saves, it then writes over to Dataverse also. So yes, you can do it. It would require some love to make it happen is all, Power Automate love. For some reason right now, my preview is just not happy. And well, likely what's happening there is it is a permission problem, but I'm not running out of time right now. I'm not sure why the preview is not working. I should see some stuff. We had some issues with Power Pages today. I am in. Let me try. I'm waiting for this to kind of finish up the spinner right here. There it goes. And there's my form. Awesome. So as I go through this, a few things you're going to notice. I don't have permissions right now to the account table. So I'll get a big old nothing burger when I load the accounts. Same thing will happen when I try to load the contacts. It's because my contact record does not have permissions to these objects right here. So I get a big old permission error right there. So I had to go through and add permissions for all of these items right here to make that happen. So pretty easy. I would just hit the permission button right here. I would then add a new record for accounts. Table will be called accounts. There it is. Perfect. The access is going to be, hey, you can only see your own account, for example. So I can say contact access. And then how do I get from this table there? All right, there's my relationship right there, contact customer. Okay, and then I want to allow you to read your own accounts. Again, I'll add the role of, you can only do this if you're authenticated in. Same thing is going to happen for the contact record also. So I'm going to create a new permission again for contact. Now, I would ideally normally name this better than I am right now. This will be the contact table this time. There we go. And that's going to be contact access. And this one's an easy one, right? Actually, I can just do self-access this kind, but I'll just do contact. That's fine. And you're only able to see your own contact. So I'll just do self-access. That should do it. And you're only able to read and do append and append to. I should have made append and append to last time also for authenticate. And then save. With that done, we should be able to create new records now. So when I hit preview, we should be able to preview this one more time and then see our form over here. We can, of course, this is the same form we created earlier. So we would ideally remove fulfilled and we remove like all those kind of goodies here. And when it refreshes, I'm still waiting for that spinner to go away right there and the cache to clean out. There it goes. And once we do that, come on, Power Pages. All right, give it a few seconds here. Oh my goodness, there it goes. Now if I hit the magnifying glass for account, we should see there's no records displayed because my Brian Knight that's authenticated in does not have access to any accounts. So to fix that, I can open up my model-driven app we created earlier, look under contacts. We should see Brian Knight somewhere as a contact there. There I am. And I can associate him, Brian Knight, under account name to Brian Inc. And when I save and close that, I then have to reload my cache. So So back underneath here again, I can hit preview one more time and preview again. That should then refresh my cache to it has the most recent data. And then I should be able to see account and contacts there at that point. All right, so question here from somebody. All right, this is a question from Praneek here. Can we use Power Pages to showcase Power BI reports or dashboards? What a great question. Let me finish this up real quick and go ahead and select my record. I should see Brian Inc. now, I hope. Okay, my goodness, it's taking a lot longer to load than normally is. So while this is loading to your question, you'll notice that when I hit the plus button on one of these, right in the middle here, that if I click let me add a section here again real quick. There we go. You'll notice that one of the things you can do is put Power BI inside of it. So yes, you can do Power BI, and yes, those can also be filtered. There's my Brian Inc. right there. They can be filtered to where a customer can only see their own data if you wanted to. So if I click in there, I can open up a dashboard and see the Pragmatic Works dashboard. There's my Brian Knight record. What merch do you want? I have not given me access to the merch table. We'll skip that there. I'm not going to set anything else here. You'll see my record right here. And when I hit save or submit, we should hopefully see my record up top. We'll give it a few seconds to do that. Again, normally it's only a half a second to do that. And there's my record up top. And likewise, inside of my model-driven app, there we go. If I go to merch request, we'll see a new request that just came in from Brian Knight on the portal. So we've showed you 3 applications. What great questions we've had also. So I showed you how also to do things like on the model-driven app, we showed you how to do some basic cascades. We showed you a Canvas application, and we showed you a Power Page. So if we go back over here again on your Power Page, hopefully we answered your question about Power about the other side there. So if I select Power BI, the first question it's going to ask me is, where is your Power BI report? You have to enable it in the portal. So to enable it, it's super easy. You have to go to the Admin Center to enable that. If I click on that Admin Center, there's a one-click kind of enablement there for you. It's turned off by default, though. And you'll notice it's opening up the Admin Center. And there's going to be, there's 2 things you can enable here. One is going to be, there it is. One is this is how you can administer the environment. And on the right side are all my services, Power BI visuals and embedded services and SharePoint are all turned off in my portal. It's the brand new portal right now. So everything's turned off by default in my case. All right. Hey, John, I think we did pretty awesome. What do you think?
I'm pretty impressed, Brian. Everything looks pretty awesome here today.
Sweet. Well, what we can do, let's kind of show just a reminder. In case you are curious here, this type of engagement we do all the time where we teach you with your own example. And the inspiration of that example came from a customer. This is a quick piece here. You can kind of see how you can look at. You find us on a website at pragmaticworks.com, and you'll see hackathons right there. That's how we basically do this. We teach you with your own example in that case. So again, our next month is going to be Angelica, excuse me, who's teaching Power BI data certifications. And let's open it up for questions, John. If we have any questions that people are curious about, are there anything you want to feature here? There's a whole bunch of them. Wow, you've been answering a lot of questions here.
Yeah,
we have a question from Paul here. John, you want to go and help us here?
We're able to add an uploaded item into the form. So,
all right, great question. So as you're asking, guys, while I'm answering these, John's going to star more as well. So when you're looking at a form, there was one of the options when I go to edit form was for attachments. If I turn this on, and you can give it a name like upload resume or something like that. Yes, it does allow for multiple attachments. You can say, I only want people to be able to upload, Word docs or whatever. And then when I hit OK, there's going to be an upload button right here. The same thing applies, by the way, in your Canvas application as well as your model-driven application. For your model-driven application, it's super easy. Let's hop over there real quick and show that off real quick. So when I go back over here again, where's my solution here? There we go. When I go back to my solution, I'm I'm struggling here, John. Let me save that. You have to simply just check a box. And then in your designer of the application, I think I did that for merch item, didn't I? So when I'm looking at that merch item form that we did earlier, okay, let me get my main form here for that. All right, this is a question from, okay, this is a good question here. So when I look at this, if I want to put a image attachments, those kind of things here, at the bottom under components, you're going to see timeline right there. If you select timeline, it'll put an ability to upload documents right there. You could ideally you want to put it into its own section. You want to make it a little cleaner. You can do things, lots of stuff you can do there. When you hit save and publish, now your application has the ability to upload documents inside the model-driven application. Now, once I saved and published, give that a few seconds, I should be able to go back to my application. Okay, there we go. Oh, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Brian, where are you? There we not are. Okay, there we go. If I go to my merch items, I can select one of those items. And now, after I save, you'll be able to add stuff down below. The reason why I must not have checked it. If I had checked it, we'd be able to see that down below. So just a reminder of where you would check that. If I go back to my, my table and merch item, and I look at the properties of that table, we want to check that box, enable attachments. We can also go down and say creating a new activity and hit save. Creating a new activity allows us to log phone calls and other things like that to it. And then we open up our app once the spinner goes away here. Give that a few seconds. Okay. And John, thank you for answering questions today. You've been awesome. If I do a hard refresh, Control F5 or hard refresh, there we go. Look at that. Now we have things like the little plus button to add notes. We can also add phone calls, attachments, all sorts of goodies here. So if I hit note, I can go blah, 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 add my attachment right here. And I'll point to an image of SpongeBob and hit add and add note. And there's my file right there. Great question there. Canvas applications, very easy also. If we had that turned on, we can add attachments that way as well. All right, next question, John.
Here, I'll read it out loud for you. Dynamics is a model-driven app. I created some custom tables in Dataverse and would like to add access to the data in them and the contacts or accounts detailed views. Is that totally viewable or doable?
Absolutely. So if you create any kind of custom tables, like right now I'm looking at my merch items table, I could go to related and say, hey, show me all the requests for that merch item. And you can see all the requests underneath it. I think I'm answering the question. If I'm not, John, am I answering that question right?
I think so. Yeah, I believe so.
Gotcha. We can see the relationship between my table and other ones. Likewise, if I go to contacts, I can find Jim Glenn and say, show me all of Jim's merch requests that he has. And there's his merch request right here. Again, this is a fake record, so you make sure I make note. It's not a Jim Glenn picture there also. Otherwise, YouTube will ban this video here. So make sure I let you know that. All right. All right. What are the questions we have here, John? Oh, one more question I got asked earlier, I'm sure, is how do I move this from dev to prod? Well, when I'm looking at my solution right here, back here, or in the overview tab, I can hit the 3 dot and hit export. Then I can hit next and I can choose whether I'm going to, if I'm going to QA or production, I choose managed. This does not let the person change the code. If I'm going to development, I can hit unmanaged. What I provided you guys in the zip code, is in the zip file, in the description of this video is unmanaged code where you can do whatever you want to with my code. So once you do that, you hit export, wait about 5 minutes. It gives you one zip file that I provided you also, that then you go to the other environment, go to solutions, and then you hit the import button. So in my other environment here, once I finally get there, I'll uncheck something and you'll see import solution. So for my solution I gave you guys, you would do import solution, browse out that zip file that was provided in a moment, and then hit next and it's done. That's all there is to migration of a solution. John, anything else we have here, question-wise? I think we're almost out of time, but
no, I think
we answered hundreds of questions in the background, looks like. We had we had over 180 questions in just the first hour. So thanks for helping us manage that, John.
Just got a few in here. One from Karan I'll put on screen here.
Okay.
Is there a way to move the app from one environment to another without creating it as a solution?
For a Canvas app, absolutely. You can go to apps and you can select the three dot next to the app and you'll see, here we go. I need to find a Canvas app here. Do I have one? I have one right here. Hit the three dot next to it and you can export the package. However, there's not a whole lot of always rules in IT. I would always, always, always create solutions. It's going to make it easier for you to migrate. It also makes it easier from an application lifecycle management. It makes it easier for your IT team. And it turns on features that you do not have unless you use a solution. So solutioning makes things way, way easier to manage. It turns on extra features, and it's going to make your IT team much happier.
Same thing goes for Power Automate, right?
Yeah, Power Automate, same thing. Yes, everything goes in that solution. Even for, you'll notice here that if I wanted to, for example, I can create a under my solution for my Power Page thing. I can create a solution called Brian Site, for example. Pick my publisher. Oh, not new publisher. I will do a whatever publisher I'm already using. Hit create. Now watch this. I can also do this for a Power Page. I can go up top where it says add existing and you'll see site. And then I'll pick my site. There was site 1, hit allow, and it's going to bring all the web pages and all the images into that site. So I can move it. I can give that site to you in a few clicks also at that point. All right. It takes a few minutes to go ahead and add that because it's adding hundreds and hundreds of files now. What are the questions, John? Anything else?
All right, so I have one from Christian here. I think you can get this one pretty well. Does the database have a dev environment different than from prod?
What a great question. So as we go from environment to environment, each environment has its own Dataverse database. And that Dataverse database is walled off. So yes, you have a different database in dev than what you do in prod. As a matter of fact, every environment you see right here has its own Dataverse database completely isolated. If you do want to synchronize those, you can synchronize those. You would use things, there's my solution right there. You would use things called, back over here again, let me get out of here. You would use data flows. You'd hit more and you'll see data flows right there. And data flows allow you to synchronize data into Dataverse from nearly any data source. So you can create a data flow and you'll see, if I go blah, 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 you'll see Dataverse is one of the options. But you'll also see SQL Server, and you'll see SharePoint and all those kind of options here as well.
All right. Let's see. We have one from Kathy here. Any tips to point me towards in creating a project tracking, budgeting, time entry solution?
So that is something that we're actually building in our LMS right now, our learning management system. And we have a class called App in a Snap. Those classes, we have one for project tracking. Time entry is coming up soon. We have an expense report one. John, you built one for, which one did you build? You built one for shout out applications. So Kathy, we're building a whole bunch of those applications ready-made. We then have a video that shows you how to build it and then a solution already ready-made also. You can find those at pragmaticworks.com. You'll hit start learning. And you can get a free account. We have a whole bunch of training already there. So once you hit start learning or log in or whatever, there is a whole bunch of ready-made training there for you. I'm going to enter it right now. And there's a whole bunch of free courses in there. So you'll find those free courses just by going to courses, and then you can filter that down to just show me the free stuff or based on whatever type of material you want to learn. There is one under Power Apps. If I go there and I search, you'll see a whole bunch of, there's John's right there, the culture shout out for App in a Snap right there. Good question, Kathy. There's also one for an inspection application, and there's one right now, project proposal and purchase application. Oh, Kathy, that looks like fairly similar to what you want.
Yeah. All right. I think we probably have time for maybe 2 more questions. So let's see if we can go. I'm not sure if this is the one you can go really quickly, but let's see if you can just answer on the fly here from Reddy. How to upload and play 1 gig video file in Canvas app model-driven app pages.
Ooh. All right. So for that upload, you can change the maximum size limit in there. 1 gig is going to get expensive to store gig-long files in Dataverse. what I'd recommend instead is either store it in Azure file storage and link to it in Dataverse, or you can use like SharePoint if you wanted to. Both are possible. When you upload files, you can tell it, I want to upload the file instead to Azure Blob Storage instead, or you can use something like SharePoint to store that file. But you'll notice that your file storage in Dataverse should be conserved. It's really meant for things like PDFs, Word docs, images, and those kind of things. 1 gig files it can be done, but it would be you would get costly to do that.
That's a simple way of putting it. Yeah. Let's see. The next one from the Pumaso again. With the push from dev to prod for every new release, fix, patch version, the step is to export and import. Then this supersedes the new version in prod. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Now there's a new feature out now as well. I'm going to move this bad boy down real quick. And if I open up this is called pipelines. Pipelines, when I'm looking at a solution, it allows me to simply look at this right here, for example, and say, yeah, I want to bring this over from dev to QA to prod. And pipelines require something called managed environments. I'm going to build a video on this in the next few days, but all I have to do is look at my different versions. I have 1.0 in development, 1.01 in prod, hit deploy here, and it's going to walk me through. Do I want to deploy it now, deploy it later? This is going to walk through doing the export and doing the import for me automatically. And if I had prod in here, you'd see dev to QA, QA to prod. So it does it all for you. It does require managed environments, but yes, if I did not do this, if I did it manually, it does the same thing. It does the export and does the import, and it will find out what's missing between dev and prod, and it figures out what changes to make to bring it up to date to dev at that point. So if I had skipped a version, that would work also. If I'm going from 1.0 to 5.0, it will do all the stuff between there to make that work for me.
All right, and I think we have time for this very last one from Christian. So if I have the solution on a dev environment and want to move it to prod, those migrations automatically create the tables from the dev environments.
Absolutely. So that's the benefit of doing solutions. If I do solutions, it's going to create the tables, create the flows, create the Power Apps, and any ties between those for me automatically. So it really, really simplifies things. It can also do things like pop-ups for my administrators, where it's going to ask them questions like, hey, what is the administrator for this? Or what customer is this for? It can ask questions to the IT admin that will change the app's behavior without having to go into the app or the flow or whatever. Great questions, folks. Well, John, I think we're ready to party here. So let's go ahead and go full screen for our end to end here. Hey-oh, there we go. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. A few notes, this was recorded, as well as just to remind you can go to our website at pragmaticworks.com. You can find that you've got this, that the hackathon, as well as we have the next 20 days, I think, 20 days left. We only open it up twice a year for our season pass learning, which gives you unlimited classes, unlimited boot camps, and you also get some one-on-one mentoring there also, and our nerd pack. So that closes on the 30th. We only have so many seats a year that we do that with. We don't have enough capacity. We open it again, I think, in December timeframe. So that, in case you're curious, is one price to get all you can eat from a Power App side, from a LMS, a learning management system, as well as our boot camps. Thank you so much, John. Thank you for answering all those questions also today. And let's end our session. Any other questions? Actually, we have one last little thing we'll end with, and that's our preview for our hackathon, as well as our next session. So thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great day.
Hackathons can effectively make learning relatable for your team by providing an interactive and engaging learning experience. The process starts with a planning session where we identify a small to medium-sized business need for a prototype. Following a one-day training session, we collaborate with your team in a 2 to 3 day build session where everyone is actively involved. And by the end of your hackathon, your team has developed new skills and you will have a working prototype to show for it.